of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'd ask you to remain standing for a moment of silence as we remember John Skorupski and Tom Vasello, both who left us far too soon. Thank you. Okay.
Trustee Downing.
Here.
Trustee Sperry.
Here.
Trustee Patton.
Here.
Trustee DiDonato.
Here.
Ryan.
Here.
And O'Malley.
Here.
And Attorney John Patterson.
Thanks, Bob.
Okay. Just want to add, do we have any students here? Community service? We got a couple? All right. Well, thanks for being here. Hope you find it informational and gives you some ideas about giving back to your community a little bit. So welcome. Okay. Correspondence and announcements. We got a pile of stuff. Let me try and do this one first. Just want to mention on May 7th, Hoosick Falls Central School had the induction ceremony for the National Junior Honor Society. It was really pretty nice. A lot of kids were inducted. It was really very special. And there were two that were extra special. So I'm going to, just since I have the chair here, I am going to note Hannah Borge was inducted, as was Hannah and Katie were both inducted, and their names are right here, and it was Katie Boyd and Hannah Borge, and they're both my granddaughters, and we're very pleased. And it was a great night. The band was terrific. Some wonderful things said about Isabel, just
Yeah.
really terrific. It was a nice night all the way around.
Nice tribute to her. Yeah.
So it was great. Okay, a couple of other things. We have the Memorial Day Parade coming up. Kevin, you probably say a few things about that in a little bit. All right, get that going. Again, just another thank you to the Valley Cats for the work that they did on the Little League field. I mean, it looks terrific. We had the opening day ceremonies a couple of weeks back. They were really doing something great. They're also trying to raise funds, and if they sell enough tickets for a game that's set on June 26th at the Valley Cat Stadium in Troy, if they can sell 500 tickets, the Valley Cats have pledged to do one of the other fields. So it's doable. There are 250 kids, I think, signed up, so it's quite doable. So if you get the chance, spread the word on that. The tickets are $8.75 each, and I think the Valley Cats are donating $4 from each ticket. So that's pretty nice. So again, a nice thank you to them.
It's graduation night.
Oh, is it the 26th? That's all right. Buy the tickets anyway.
Little League kids will go there.
Yeah. Is that, oh, it is. So it's a little bit later this year. Okay. All right. I'm not sure. This is from Time Warner. Maybe I might pass this on to you, Ben.
Okay.
More than a year ago, Time Warner, the ultimate parent of the cable franchise in your community, and Comcast entered into an agreement to merge. And Comcast then agreed to transfer certain systems to Charter Communications. Last Friday, Comcast terminated those agreements, and this letter is to let you know that Time Warner Cable will now continue as the operator of the cable system in your community. So they're officially letting us know, but
I do have an update on that
do
coming
you?
up. Yep,
Okay,
I
we'll get
sure
into
do.
that then.
Yep.
Last week, we had the village-wide cleanup. We also had an open house here, the police station and the village clerk's office. Over, I want to say 300 volunteers, I think, were signed up. So, and a great job was done. It was really good. And special thanks to AC3 for coordinating that. But people were all over the place, a lot of industry, different businesses. So it was really very, very well done and gets things off to a great start. Also, we want to mention that there's going to be an annual village-wide tag sale, and that will be held over Memorial Day weekend. And that's going to be on Saturday, May 23rd, from 9 to 1. There will also be an indoor tag sale at the Armory. and you can pick up a map with all the tag sale locations at the Armory. Placement, name and address and such to be put on the map is free. And you can purchase a 10 by 10 space at the Armory for $20 for a spot, or $25 for a spot and a table. So anyway, more signs of spring and summer, all of that kind of stuff. Okay, and I just want to mention that, again, AC3 is working on
I know.
a community, not a calendar, but announcements with regard to summer jobs. And they're asking that that be posted. Let us help you find the perfect person. AC3 is in process of launching a job listing section on our website where community members can go post and find jobs. So there'll be more information about that that's available to people. Okay, that's all that paper? Okay. On June 12th, the Greenway Committee will be hosting a ribbon cutting on the Southern Trail. And this is to celebrate the acquisition of the property from John Skorupski, who very recently passed away. We've added additional acreage to the site. It's actually the land that goes from the trail down to the water. And it's pretty close to 6 acres, so it runs the length of the trail. We hope to get a map put up at the kiosk so that people will be able to actually see that and see where it is. But that'll be on the 12th. It's a Friday at 4 p.m. And we hope that the public will respond to that as well, and we'll be getting that underway. Okay, do that. A couple of weeks ago, I attended the NICOM conference, which is the New York Commission of Mayors and Municipal Officials. And it was over the weekend into Monday and Tuesday. They have a lot of different sessions. It's very, very informative. NICOM is the organization or the association that villages work with, and they're able to do a lot of good things for us, give us a lot of good information. So overall, it was a successful conference. We learned quite a bit. We learned a little bit about the grants and the grant cycle that's coming up, about brownfields and monies that are going to be available. There were discussions about police protection in terms of video cameras and things like that. It was really quite informative. So it's always good for a lot of information there. Okay. All right, on the agenda here, this,
Hiya.
yeah, and we've got a mistake in the agenda that says, reminder, the July board meeting is rescheduled from the 8th to the 15th.
No.
At our last meeting, we talked about the possibility of rescheduling the September and the July meeting. We did reschedule the September meeting. I believe I have it later on the agenda here to talk about the July meeting to see if it's possible. So the idea that it's been rescheduled, it has not as yet. We need to see if it's possible. Okay?
So July should read September on the agenda.
Well, yeah, but only if the dates match up.
Yes,
8th and
yeah,
15th,
right,
too.
that's right.
Okay.
Yeah, September 8th to the 15th.
Yep, so if you call that September,
Yep,
we're in business.
right.
Okay, nice pickup. And is that everything for announcements? Oh, I did want to mention, I want to thank the fire departments that responded to the brush fire up on the other side of the transfer station. A lot of companies responded. This was Friday, late in the afternoon. It was a very hot fire, and it was a very hot day. I understand one of the firefighters was overcome by heat exhaustion, but that everybody is okay. I don't know that there was we've learned any cause other than a brush fire. That's what we know from this.
One up in North Hoosick where power dropped on part of service. There's a lot
Okay.
of factors that can go at this time.
Okay, all right, so again, I want to thank the fire departments. They did a great job. And everything's very, very dry, I mean, clearly. And the weather was pretty hot. Hopefully it's starting to cool down a little bit. Wasn't the fire departments. It'll come back to me. There was somebody else that I wanted to thank for something as well. Okay, moving along. We have the March minutes, the April organizational minutes, the budget and the regular meeting minutes, that would be from April, correct? Okay. Well, those went out to everybody. Hopefully, everyone had a chance to see those. And if so, is there a motion to accept?
So moved?
Rick, is there a second?
Second.
Second, Bob D. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Those are accepted. Thank you. Treasurer's report, there is no treasurer's report at this meeting. We're gonna hold off until next month. It just became an extremely busy time. Nothing jumps out. We will be getting the financials out to everybody, hopefully over the next week, but there were just so many things going on, people weren't able to get to it. So we'll hold off on that. Police report? Chief?
Yes, there's 107 calls last month. There was 9 for assist, other requests that would be outside assistance, lockouts, et cetera. Property damage, personal injuries, there was auto accidents, there were 6. There was 1 drug possession, 1 suspicious person. There was 8 open doors. There was 4 traffic arrests. There were 6 domestics, 6 endangering, disputes, neighbor disputes, et cetera. There were 8. There was 6 larcenies, burglaries, robberies. There was 8 EMS, 7 open burning, 8 harassments, 3 investigations. Code enforcement, civil landlord, there was 1. There was 2 trespassing. There was 4 sex registers, 2 warrant arrests, 8 animal complaints, 4 bad checks, 2 mental health, 1 property retrieval, 1 civil matter. I'd just like to advise everyone about the open burn. It's still the May 15th. The one thing that I'd like to have the board just review is these open pits, these type of pits that the people are using to burn with. Some of them are just putting some blocks together and burning. Some of them are using nothing, and some of them are burning everything. So I think it's something we need to look at. If anything, to give everybody guidance. We can go there and say you can't have an open burn. But I think we need to look at the type of pits that are being used as well. It's gonna be dangerous. And I think we're gonna have a hot summer here.
Has to be above ground.
Aren't there, yeah, aren't there
Boy Scout
specifications?
regulations, it has to be above ground, you cannot burn anything on the ground. Has to be like a pit above, sitting on, above the ground.
And what I'm asking, Bob, is if we can be kind of specific about that, because they're gonna come back with the argument, it is above ground. You know?
Well,
I'm just
I
saying.
can get you some information, see what they,
It's something that maybe the
yeah, I
board
can get
should
some
look at as
information
well.
on that.
All these Home
Would be
Depot,
good.
Lowe's, everybody's selling these all different kind of pits, which are
Right.
great. Some of them are thinking that they could put them on their deck and burn on their deck. It's just, and I'm in agreement, it's just something I think we should address, and maybe we can get it on Facebook and.
Now, on, New York State says no burning until May 15th.
The village you can do something, if I'm not mistaken, we can check with our attorney, we can do something too, to say there is no burning.
But that's what I was asking though, since the state already has a guideline, are these things addressed in the state's guidelines on this? Because a lot of people were asking me the same thing, because I've been telling people, fire department's gonna show up at your house if you're burning anything before the 15th, because New York State says you can't. So, and they said, does that even mean like one of these little, fire pits I bought at Home Depot? And I said, we're still trying to clarify that, but as far as I'm concerned, they're.
Any open burn,
Right.
that would be them as well.
Right.
Now, after May 15th, I think it's because of the wind, they think the wind's gonna die down and be a little bit more.
Well, hopefully it'll be a little wetter, so, that's a big issue.
But those are issues that I think we need to address. Hang on a second. We need to address
Okay.
before I know May 15th is right around the corner, but at least we can address it. If you can get that over to me, Bob, that'd be great.
You can find out.
Just real quick, we're working with the DEA. I'm not gonna get into a lot of particulars like that, but I was with them today. Last year, we arrested a doctor out of Saratoga, prescription drugs. We're gonna be doing a second indictment on somebody else, probably within the next couple of weeks with DEA. So this again shows that something that happened a year ago, it's still ongoing. So these investigations, they don't usually end, they continue. Graduation that's coming up, I'm asking everybody, let's be careful about the parties that you have at your home. If there's any questions or concerns, please don't be afraid to give us a call. We're gonna be out, we've had Memorial Day, DWI patrol that's gonna be out specifically for Memorial Day, but we're also gonna have additional patrols out for the summer, especially around graduation. If you're hearing of anything, I'm not asking you to be a snitch or anything, but if you hear something, give us a call, and let us know. Not that we're gonna be using your name and running up to the person's door and saying, hey, so-and-so said so. It's just giving us an idea that maybe we can cut off a problem before it gets there, so you keep us abreast of that.
Save somebody's life as well.
Exactly. We've been approved for our ballistic vests. These are a vest that the federal government pays for all officers. Each officer's vest expires after 5 years, and it goes through a rotating system. So we just been granted $4,500 to upgrade the vests, and for any additional officers that come on, those vests will be paid for. That's something that's done yearly. So we've been approved for that. And just to let everybody know, because I'm getting a lot of phone calls Sunday, what was going on in the village is that we had a large fight. It was at an apartment up here on First. It took both of our patrols plus additional patrols from the sheriff and state police. We had about 20, 25 people fighting in the city, in the streets. They were a mixture of, individuals from the village, but outside the village. So it's something that, there's no court tonight, it's over. No. There isn't. It's a process, and it's something that Mark and I have been starting to work closely on and keeping track of who's coming and who's not coming. So if something's coming up, you guys, or if you see something, please give us a call and let us know what's going on. Or if you think that there's activity going on that shouldn't be going on, yeah, you can get on it. They've been waiting for you.
Hey Bob, those phone scams are going around again, the IRS, I got
Yes.
one.
Yeah.
And you should call us, I mean, and whether we do a report on it or not, just let us be aware that they're going on. We know they're going on, but I like to keep track of the numbers that we have going on too, because it's not just the elderly, it's not just the young, it's everybody. And I've gotten them at my house too, and you just hang up on them, but they just keep on calling
I
back.
tell them to call the cops, so.
The only other thing there is, and I pinned a letter over to Dave, that we're having, sadly, one of our officers, Officer Quell, is going to be taking a full-time job at Saratoga County Sheriff's Department. It's a good move for her. She's wishing to stay part-time with us, on a part-time basis. So that's something that's placed in front of Dave and Bob, the letter of resignation, with the request to become part-time, so I'd like you to be able to act on that tonight. Also, I placed in front of Bob a request to hire a part-timer tonight. His name is John Hudson. He's a SUNY police officer. He's got a lot of experience, and I think he'd be a good addition for us right now, because I'm gonna need people for the summer, and I got a feeling we're gonna be a very, very busy summer. It's starting already, so it's something I wish you would take. I hate to have you look like Crystal's letter, but I have no choice. And the other one would be this other individual here. Other than that,
I have one question for you, but not regarding this, but when you report, you were saying 4 sex registered, is that registered sex offenders?
Yes.
Is that new registrants, is that what that is, or?
that's new, it's new, and some are just change of addresses. Whenever they move, whether they're moving from one house to another on the same street, they have to notify us.
Okay.
We have to upgrade the picture, we have to send that to the state. The state upgrades the information there. We upgrade it within our records here. So anyone walking in, we have a book with just specific sex offenders.
That's still available on the web, correct? The
Yes,
updated
with the
should be-
state. The state controls that. I don't control that. The state
No,
does.
right, but I know because, I know when I was on the town, that was definitely, still going to the sex offender to see who in your proximity is.
Exactly.
Right, okay.
And they'll give you the level that
Okay.
they're on. And the other thing is if they're on a work release per se, where say if they're in Vermont and they're gonna be doing work over here in the village, they have to stop here at the station and let us know that they're gonna be in the village. And then we do a quick report on it as well. But they're there was, some change of addresses, as I think we have one new one in the city of Troy that moved in.
Okay, that
And
just
we can't
concerns
control-
me. No, I know we
right,
can't
right.
control it, but it just concerns me. I wanna, it's good that people are aware that, especially with people with small children or younger
Exactly.
children,
And once we get the notification, we do a check ourselves. We go over and make sure, depending on the level, where they're staying and who's around them and such. So, and I think that's, I don't mean to throw it on over there, but the building department, we let them know as well, so when we're doing inspections.
Sure. Okay, just wanna make sure.
Yeah, it's easy, you see that commercial on TV where that girl was followed by that guy, it was on the news. I went right in and attacked her in her own house, followed her,
Times are changing,
I guess so,
not for the good.
no.
Chief, what happens to the canine?
Well, the canine is owned by Crystal, so that's something
Okay.
we're trying to discuss to figure out what we're gonna be doing with the canine. I know that there's been some costs initially that was put into it, but it's something that she controls to some extent, so we're trying to figure out what we're gonna do at this point.
be talking about that,
Okay,
definitely.
that was just not mentioned.
No, it's
And-
something that, and it's been an asset to us, and,
Okay,
the one thing is, we might be able to still use it on a part-time basis.
okay.
On the agenda, there's for sponsor one candidate for police academy on the second page. Are we still doing that as well?
I don't know.
What was that?
It says, sponsor one candidate for police academy. Do you have someone in
That
mind?
would be for the July, so I'll be
Okay, but you
addressing
don't-
that in June.
Okay, no, that's on there.
No, we're gonna be.
It's more the motion to.
No, no.
Okay. That's
We'll
what I
be
thought.
addressing that in June.
Okay.
Okay, so we'll pull
It should
that
be
out for
appoint
now.
the
Okay.
part-time officer.
Bob, under your report, will you address?
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
Anything else, Chief?
I don't mean to take up everybody's time, but I think that's it.
Okay. If people have not had the opportunity, at some point, please check in the police department room towards the front. If you look through the window, you can see the plaque, a stone plaque. I don't know if it's granite or not, but there's a stone plaque that was on the original building here. And it's dated 1905, and we're able to get it installed on the wall. It took four He-Men to get it up the stairs and to
We
get it
initially had a
attached.
roll with the grant.
So, also, Phil Leonard has let us know, and Charlie as well, that the Historical Society is interested and will help us in terms of some funding to have it properly cleaned and taken care of. So I've been in touch with someone who works over at Williams College, who lives here in the village. I'm hoping she can come down and take a look at it and let us know the proper way to go forward.
And Dave and I noticed on it, there's burn marks that
Yeah.
are still on it.
Yeah.
So we wanna preserve them as well.
Yep. So anyway, if you haven't had a chance, take a look at that. Okay.
I was found downstairs in a back room, our records room, stuck behind a bunch of boxes that I kicked. So that's not moving too easy.
No, but it really looks great out there, so if you get a chance, take a look at it. Okay, code enforcement report?
One of the things that I've been working on is a new building permit application. Let me just pass it on. The other one, after years of copies and copies and copies, it was looking pretty bad. So I just kind of took advantage of it, of needing an update, and just went through. So I have sent it to John, and I've sent it to a couple of the board members to look over just for any input, make sure it's all up to snuff, but, so there may be some minor tweaks left to it still, but, the next form that I'd like to work on is as part of the, rental units, doing a whole house like certification for a rental. I'd like to work on an application for that so that the owners are actually supplying us with the information of each apartment, how many bedrooms are in each apartment, who they have for the tenants. Just try and get, part of the application process, and then, so we have all that information, and then when I go to do an inspection, I can confirm what we're showing on the books for the number of units.
If it's accurate.
What they actually have for number of units. And in the process of doing that, we get an idea of the bedrooms and stuff and how many people really should be in the apartments. So it'll just help us, the more information that we have along those lines. So I am gonna start working on that form, too.
And that form obviously will be run by the village attorney, just
Oh, yeah.
because of the
definitely.
information that we'll be looking at and such.
Yep.
Okay, great.
Mark, would that also pertain to the houses that are being rented? I think there's more and more houses being rented.
Single families?
Single-family houses.
Yeah, all the single families need to be registered, and my understanding of the law, they still need to be registered even though they're a single family as a rental. I just worked on one last thing today. I talked to the owner, Mechanic Street, of a house that's being run. The way that it came out was kind of different. They came looking for some additional garbage cans, and Ann knew that wasn't a rental. From talking to them, she found out that they were renters, and she knew that wasn't a rental property. So I talked to the owner today, and I've scheduled an appointment with him to actually do an inspection on that. The people that are there are not there legally right now.
I think on Upper Church Street, there's probably 3 or 4 that are rentals that are.
So, I mean, and as we get into this, there'll be more and more of that we'll discover. I'm just really trying to get everything organized, because when we run into that, I wanna be prepared with the right paperwork so that we can move forward with that stuff. So as far as some of the other things that I've actually done, I did some safety training with St. Cobain. Because of the new building they're putting up, they require everybody that's going on site to do their safety training. It was about a 2-hour sit down with just one other person, and it was fine, it was good. So their project has started. I've been over there for a number of inspections on the footings so far. It's very interesting. Attended the planning and zoning meeting that we had last week. Issued 7 building permits. I've started loading New York State property maintenance law into our new software system. The new software system does not have the capability of actually going out and latching onto the law, so there's a lot of cut and paste. And it's a part of the organizational process. Trying to get all those in there so that when it comes time for code enforcement, and I'm actually loading all the information for the property and the owner and stuff like that, I'm able to go in and put in the violations that I'm finding. But to do that, it's gotta be in that system, and it's not, so I have to manually load that stuff in. So that's a little bit of a time-consuming process, but I'm getting there. I've got most of the New York State property maintenance code in. I worked today a little bit on like our local codes and things like that. And some of that is a little bit, it jumps around a little bit, so I'm still getting familiar with some of that. But we'll get there, and that'll be ready to go, and then I can really feel like I can get into some of the complaints and things full-fledged. The complaints, there's the way that this system works, the complaints are, even when I do a inspection of an apartment, it's under the complaint category. So I still wanna work on this report. This report shows that there was 14 complaints that I opened, but some of them, they're not really complaints, all of them. Some of them are apartment inspections, some of them are complaints. So my hope is every time a complaint comes in, I automatically go, it's like an incident report, start in the computer as an incident report, and then I'm able to take it whichever direction it takes me. That's my hope. So that's, other than that, I've done numerous building permit inspections, just following up on the permits, decks, and things like that. So I'm having no problem staying busy. There's lots of it's all good stuff.
Good? Okay, thank you. Village clerk's report?
Busy. Busy. Monday was crazy. We've had 4 sales in the village, 5 actually, one came in today. One of those was outside. We collected $11,000 in overdue water rents, which was very good.
Pay
We're
that
working
electric
on
bill.
the re-levies for the utilities to go on the June taxes. And I want to take this time to thank Mark Surdam. I have a 2-family rental next door to me. I don't think they took anything when they left, and it was all outside, in the front yard, in the side yard, in the backyard. I reported it on Monday. He spoke with the bank. And when I went home today, it's gone.
Oh.
Sharon can attest to that. What a mess.
I wanted to get that flag before they took off. Stuff there and throw it in the back of the
appreciate that, because that was.
Bob,
I
you didn't
mean,
hear that.
That was nice.
Well, that was a surprise to me because they told me 5 to 7 days, but.
They must have got right on the phone to that
Great.
little southern fella from
Well,
Hoosick.
I sent pictures along with that, so they
Oh.
got to see firsthand
Yeah.
what that was.
So that's it, other than that, we're just busy.
Just one thing I wanted to mention, there was a power outage, almost
Yeah.
a series of power outages over the weekend.
Yeah.
And what I had heard was that a transformer blew down on Route 7 somewhere. I don't know how accurate that is, but that's what I had heard. And parts of the village were out. Others were not affected, but parts were. Now, there was a fire as a result of that, and it was over on Griffith Ave. And one of the things we just want to say to people is, power outages are part of life. It happens. But if you can remember, and it gets hard when it's hot and humid and you got a whole bunch of fans on, but if you can remember to turn those appliances off, because when that power comes back on, there's a surge. And it was a very lucky, fortunate situation at Griffith Ave. It could have been much, much worse. So again, try to remember to shut the appliances off. If you could mention something about that, just as a reminder to people, that would be much appreciated. It's not a fail-safe by any means, but if we could just try to do that, that would be really helpful.
Does it make that apartment unlivable right now?
Yeah, I did, I was called in by the fire department, and I did end up red tagging that apartment. They are not to live in there until I go back and re-inspect it, and they started working on it. There wasn't a lot of fire damage, there was a lot of smoke. And there was a little bit of fire department damage from just making sure that the fire wasn't in the walls.
Is it still gonna be the same family that's in there? I mean, with the 2 kids and the 2 adults and the 1-bedroom?
Well, as far as I know, it's just 2 adults in there. I did send an email today clarifying that after I've gotten a couple calls saying there's 4 people living in there. It's a 1-bedroom apartment. I sent the owner a copy of the law, which they, property maintenance law that specifies how many people can be in that apartment per the number of bedrooms. I did not hear back from her, but I made them aware of it. And I do have to re-inspect that apartment before anybody can go back in there.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Mark, for following up.
All right. Okay, people to be heard?
Yes.
Yes.
Hi, Keith Simperley, Village of Hoosick Falls, live on Gillespie Street. My concern is, on July 13th, I sent a FOIL request to the town, the village clerk, excuse me, and all it wanted was an electronic copy of the Hoosick Falls Police Department's policies and procedures. Specifically, I just said I wanted an electronic copy. Now, I've since received a denial of another FOIL from the last month's DVD of the village board meeting. And Ann's response to me was that I was, let me see if I can find it, that I still owe $118 from my last FOIL request, because she went ahead and physically printed out the entire policy. I was not asking for that. I was asking for an electronic copy. So what's going to be done about this? Look, I'll forget about the policy, forget about it. All I want is the DVDs. Am I going to get those DVDs?
Well, there's a process that needs to be followed.
I sent an appeal with no response. 10 days after my appeal, you're supposed to, in writing, send something back. Again, nothing.
Well, I'm sure we will follow through with that. We
Well,
have a
what's-
policy, and the village attorney will be looking at that, and we'll be getting back to you.
When? I mean, this was July of
Sometimes it takes time.
2014. Is this transparency?
I'm not gonna get into a philosophical debate with you. Do you have anything else you'd like to bring up?
So that's probably a no. Okay? I just want to say thank you to Bob and thank you to Crystal Quell. There was a call to the police department, I think it was about a week ago or 2 weeks ago, for a van driving in my neighborhood. They were soliciting business for carpet cleaning. Crystal came up immediately and checked it out, and I just wanted to say thank you. And I'm gonna tell you, it's gonna be a big loss. You know, you're losing a good officer there. I guess that's about it, Mayor.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else to be heard? Yes.
Mary Jane Scott from Snow Street, and my concerns are the water. A couple of weeks ago, or maybe 3 weeks ago, I came home from Bennington at about 5 o'clock, and there was a trickle coming out of my faucet, and then a whole bunch of, it looked worse than this, believe me, and muck. Muck. We're lucky because we do have a filter in our house, but a lot of people up there don't. I know things happen, but years ago when things happened with the water, the police department used to ride around and announce to not drink your water and to boil it. Nothing was ever announced. We have a family across the street from us that has a boy with CF, and she cleans his medical equipment with this water. She had boys that night that were filling up their water bottles, and they have these fancy water bottles that you really can't see through. And I don't know how much of the water that they really drank. Again, I wish there was a way to notify people when something like that happens. And it didn't just, it went on for days before things really cleared out out there.
That was about 3 weeks ago?
I believe so.
And did you contact anyone at the water department?
Yes, they were contacted, and also the dispatcher, we called them, and they said that you were aware of this, had different stories on what happened up there. They're always working up there on that tank.
By the tank?
Yeah.
A couple of weeks ago, Jim told me they had an issue with the tank. And
Yeah.
they were up there.
It was a major issue.
Yeah, they're up there
major.
all night long.
Yeah, they were up there overnight. I think your point is very well taken in
Well-
terms of trying to get information out to people when things like this come up. We've had other situations like that. A number of people have said, years back, again, the police department would go around with a bullhorn and say, hey,
Yeah.
there's an issue in an area or whatever. I think that's something we really need to take a look at and see if that's an additional way of notifying people.
It was the easiest way at that time to let people be aware of.
Well, and it probably got most everybody. Nothing that we do is gonna hit 100%. But I think adding something like that, could really be helpful. So we'll definitely take a look at that. I'll talk to the chief about it as well, and we'll see if we can do something about that.
Well, like, people on the street had to go out and buy water. We've changed our filter, I don't know how many times. I looked at it tonight, and it's still filthy, and there's still sediment in the bottom. And it was days before the muck cleared up, and we had to take apart our faucets, the shower head, and take laundry to the laundromat. We
And-
couldn't take showers.
And hydrants were flushed yesterday and today.
Yeah, and, that's another thing too, when they're gonna flush the hydrants, generally that's put in the paper. To let.
Wasn't
It was.
That was,
It was.
that was.
Which paper?
Eastwood?
In the Eastwick Press.
I don't buy these.
Well, again, you can't cover
It's
absolutely
also on the
anything.
village website.
It's on the website too, if you go on.
And the TV channel, social media, we try to do the best we can.
Okay, I don't have the internet, so I'm on a fixed income, and I really don't care to be on the internet. And like, we're paying our water bill and the water bond, and we're not receiving the services on Snow Street that other residents in the village are.
And we're
And I'd like to know, is there any update on the new water line that is supposed to go on Snow Street?
The new water line is not in this year's budget. We discussed this last month, we discussed it in March, and it was in the paper as well. Financially, we don't have the money. However, we are looking to see if there are other projects that we could put together for a larger project where where we would qualify for funding for something like that. We know it needs to be done. It didn't get done last year for good reasons, but that doesn't help you. We recognize that it needs to be done. We want to get it done. But in terms of looking at the budget, the money was not there. We're gonna continue to do what we can. We're gonna continue to be working towards that. I think your suggestions about getting additional notices, maybe through the police department, there may be other ways too, that we can do that. I think we ought to do that. We ought to try and get that word out. And there should be some fairly simple ways to do that and get as much information out. But as I said before, really, we're never going to be 100% because somebody's not gonna buy the paper that day, somebody's not gonna have a TV, I don't watch that channel, whatever. I mean, you do what you can do. But hopefully if we at least get the word out to people that there are some of these things going on and we make that effort, I think that's the best that we can do at this point, and we will go forward with that.
So the new water line is not in this year's
It is
budget?
not in this year's budget. And we discussed that in March as well as in April. Yeah. Now, if we can do something, as I said, to bring some projects together where we would be eligible for funding for different things, we will certainly try and do it. We know that that's an issue.
I thought someone was going to look into,
Doing that,
yes.
we did. And that project stood alone. And believe it or not, the $50,000 that it would take to do that is two small potatoes to be eligible for a grant. So what they said to us was, give us a $500,000 project and we may be able to come up with something. And I'm really not exaggerating by that much, I truly am not. So we're working with people to see if there are some other projects. Ben's really put a lot of time into this to see what we can do and where we can be eligible for some help with this.
Well, I was really hoping and praying over the winter time that it would freeze up and bust.
Ah.
That way, it
Well,
wouldn't get there.
your hopes and prayers went elsewhere because there were some freeze-ups and busts. In fact, there's a bust going on right now.
I forgot about praying for that. Darn it.
So, I know it's not what you want to hear, but we will be working towards that.
I can assure you, this is not just lip service either. It is on our radar. I mean, we've discussed it, as David said, at two recent village board meetings, because we're aware that it's a problem that needs to be addressed.
And nobody felt worse about it than I did when I heard that it wasn't happening, believe me, after all the work we've done to try and get it done, so.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else to be heard? Yes, please.
Hi, Bob Nickel, 22 Richmond Avenue.
Hello.
Evening, ladies and gentlemen. I have a couple of small things I'd like to bring up, I guess, as far as, I guess I'm being selfish. It has to do with our neighborhood for one thing, and then our property for another. And I've gotten signatures from all 5 of the residents on what we call, or what I call, the Richmond Avenue extension, which is the narrow part of the road going up to the country club. And I got some signatures from people elsewhere on the road. Some people weren't around, so I didn't get those, but what we're basically asking for, because of traffic issues and the fact that there's a business at the end of the road, that we would like to have the speed limit on that road, or that street, drop to 20 miles an hour. The whole Richmond Avenue extension, it's narrow, there's a blind crest of the hill, you've got people in a hurry to go play golf, and then people in a hurry to get home after maybe that one extra soda. And they're all the delivery trucks that go up and down. And farther down the street, of course, there are 2 houses that have a bunch of kids, and they're concerned about it because, again, people start up that road and they're doing 40 or better, and one of the children in one residence is autistic, so there's an issue. And
Sure.
Mrs. Maddox had told me that she had been in touch with you folks before, so that's the first thing, and I do have these 2 sheets with signatures.
And does this say what?
Yes,
Yeah, it does.
they're actually a little bit different, one for the Richmond Avenue extension and one for
Okay.
Richmond Avenue
So,
Okay, what we will do is we've got to check into the law.
mhm,
Obviously, we'll talk to the village attorney who's out there right now.
sure.
We'll talk to the highway department, we'll take a look. Anybody who's been around a little bit longer than I have, Bob, any reference
Actually
to
seen 'em
anything
drop.
like this?
Yeah, I haven't actually seen them drop it. Drop
Okay.
the speed limit.
I know they put a sign on Rogers Avenue saying 20 miles an hour, but I don't think it's an official sign.
I don't think so.
A
You got, I don't know
recommendation.
how you gotta work that through
It's
the,
gotta be officially posted before you can enforce it, right?
right.
But I was just wondering, do you know if we've had any experience in the village
Not-
doing that?
No.
Okay, so we've got to check
We've
that out.
tried it before.
And is it same, like, appeal process, like, Mark, as in the town, right? The town, we have to appeal to the state, you have to do a survey, and the state comes up and does a study, traffic, and
Right.
then they give you a determination, they do their own determination, and whether you
Guess you
care,
gotta-
whether you can give them all the evidence you want, like you say, Bob, and they deny it. I don't think we ever reduced one, no years out, not many out of town.
That's to the town.
Well,
Well,
tried it
let's-
before.
please.
Even if we could just put up a couple of signs that are yellow, which means it's a recommended speed, and
Yeah.
if it says 20, we might keep the
Kevin,
people
what
down
color
to
is that?
30.
Is it yellow or
Okay.
is it green?
Instead of
Is it
maybe
yellow?
40.
Yeah.
You might actually slow down to 20.
I paid
It might
attention to it, but
shock
nobody
you.
else
Some
has.
people might.
And I hate that.
Some, you said it,
What we
some.
will do is, we'll talk both with the highway department and the police department, as well as our village attorney, just to see what's involved in this. We'll definitely get back to you,
Sure.
okay? And I think it's a very reasonable request. We gotta take a look at it, see if we can do something about it.
And I do have one other thing,
Yep.
which is the more personal item. As I said, we live at 22 Richmond Avenue, and that property used to be Gene Bode's place. That actually has almost 800 feet of road frontage. And our property goes all the way up to the sharp bend where it heads up the hill to go to the country clubhouse. And right at that bend, at the end of our property, is a large area that has been filled with dirt and road debris and all kinds of other things. And I'm pretty confident it's encroaching on our property. Now, I checked with the people at the country club, and they said they don't know anything about it. They said the village DPW did it, so.
Okay.
I don't know, but I do have some pictures I took today, and that's
Great.
also, I slid down the bank to get some pictures.
Ooh.
And I have a copy of our survey map, the original, and at some point, if somebody would like to take a look at these and,
Do you wanna keep those, or can we have?
well, this.
Well, no, we don't
No,
need your
we don't
deed.
need that.
We don't need- no.
We don't need
Yeah.
your deed, Bob.
All right. Well,
We,
you're
we
not
trust,
getting
we
it.
trust you.
These are the photographs, and if you have any questions about where they are, I have the compass points. These first two are actually right on Richmond Avenue Extension. This is heading down the hill from the clubhouse. This is as you're going up the hill. And I'm also showing where the power wires are, which is very close to what the edge of our property line is, which goes all the way up to the country club brook. And
There's some old golf carts down in there too.
that's not on my property, I think that might be on Bay Shores. Yeah, well, yes, I've seen those.
Okay.
I figured maybe we could try to get one. But if you'd like to look briefly at that, just to give you an idea, this was right up in this area where the power poles are. The Country Club Brook comes down here, and the Country Club Road goes right there, and this pile is all the way down onto the property.
Okay.
Feel free to look, and I'll take that one.
Don't leave it
No,
there.
okay. No, you
Somebody
take
will
it
make a
back.
note on it. It'll
I had
look-
two copies, I can't find the other one now, so.
Hang on to
I
that.
have to take this one home.
But we can
Okay.
keep these pictures, Bob?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Well,
And if you have any questions.
Would you
Yeah,
follow up with
yeah,
Neil?
yeah.
Let's take a look
Yeah.
so we can see what's
Yeah,
going on
I'll
with
talk
that.
to Neil.
Okay, do you need my phone number if you, in case one
Yeah.
would like to talk to
Yeah,
me?
you can give it to me here, but write down right on the pad.
Oh,
Here, Bob.
certainly. I've got a pen.
Okay.
Okay, is there anything else?
Not for me, thank you very
Okay,
much.
anyone else to be heard? No, we're good? Okay, we're gonna move. Committee reports. Bob B?
Quiet, nothing going on, so just last week, the truck broke down on Friday, so I didn't get garbage picked up till Saturday, so.
Broke down 3 times, I heard.
Thank you for your time.
3
back.
times.
Thank you very much.
So other than that, I'm pretty quiet for this month.
Okay, good, all right, thank you.
Only
Karen?
request I have is, people have approached us about cleaning the streets. I asked Neil, I think by the end of the month, did he
I've
say?
got, I'll
Good
address.
job, because,
Yep.
I mean, like, especially up where I am, it's, a lot of stones, kids on bikes right now, it's like, you know,
Yeah.
it's quite dangerous.
No, a lot of sand went down this
Yeah.
winter,
Yeah,
so,
so that's
no
good.
question.
Yep.
So you're gonna cover that?
I have that, yep, I talked to Neil
Okay.
about it this afternoon.
Anything else? Karen?
Nope, I'm good.
Ben?
I got a call from Jim mid-afternoon saying that they wouldn't be at the meeting today because they were at a water main break. So they are not here today, but everything, there wasn't anything outstanding that they had to tell me. Just wanted to update, the mayor had mentioned earlier about the Comcast Time Warner Cable termination of their merger. It is definitely official that they have come to the agreement that they are not going to merge. So what that really means is I got a hold of the folks that I've been dealing with. Our contract, Village to Time Warner Cable, runs through 2017. So I got a hold of the Director of Government Relations and just asked him if there was anything that was on the horizon as far as any changes. Does it mean anything for our franchise agreement right now? And he said no, nothing. Nothing until 2017. I also asked him if he knew of any other mergers that were on the horizon, and of course he wasn't gonna tell me that, so, there is a,
You're looking for inside information?
yeah, exactly. There is a possibility, the mayor mentioned, something about Charter. One of the things that they're talking about is Charter is a, smaller, rival, partially controlled, media, and they're talking about maybe making an offer to Time Warner Cable, but again, that's down the road. So what we need to do, or what I need to do, with 2 years left in the agreement, is start to focus on 2017 and see if we can make a better deal as we head
Yeah.
into the next, probably, usually it's in a 10-year cycle, so we're looking at 2017, 2027. At this point, we have no other options as far as Verizon or anything like that, so we'll start to look at that. We've got about 2 years left, so we'll start to look at that soon, and there'll probably be some public meetings as we head forward, because I think I was doing this in 2007 when I was on the board the first time, and we had some public hearings about it at different locations, so we'll probably do that again.
And we should also tie in with Tom Valone, who's working through Hoosick Rising in terms of
Yep.
broadband and trying to get, better service and those kinds of things here.
Yep.
So that we're approaching it from a more of a comprehensive
Mhm.
perspective.
Yep.
So great.
That's it, that's
Okay.
all I have.
All right, thank you. Rick?
We already mentioned on June 12th, we have ribbon cutting on the Greenway. The kiosk is up at the southern end of the trail. I spoke with Jason Jansen from Hoosick School about doing some landscaping work around that area and clean it up a little bit. That should benefit us and the new football field that's down there. Speaking about the football field, they have similar problems that we have with the Greenway, in that people are riding things on it that they're not supposed to be riding on it.
On the grass, on the
Yes,
turf?
somebody decided it was a good place to do some burnouts.
Oh,
And I've heard from several people that they hear motorcycles down on the trail again, so.
And we've been hitting that
Yeah.
with the patrol cars, with the bike patrols. and
Can't catch everything, I understand that,
Bike
but.
patrols, I think, is the best way of addressing it as well, because you can come up upon them, and the bike patrols have been hitting it during the evening hours. I think it's better for bike patrols to be down there as well, because it's just a little bit more,
Mhm.
I think, nicer.
Right. And just on a related note, as far as Hoosick Rising, Jason Dungeness and his wife, they got power on, they got a bathroom in, they can take showers over there. And they Jason is a,
It's the former St. Mary's.
yes, the old St. Mary's building. He's a Scottish gamer. He had a big event in Albany, and a whole bunch of people who came in for that event come out on Saturday. Some of them stayed at the place, and he had a bit of an open house there, and it was just really nice to see people actually congregating in that park out there, and they were being peaceful and everything, and just really enjoying what we have here in the village. And just from the standpoint of somebody who's been here for over 20 years myself, who drives by that park all the time, it was really nice to see people enjoying that park. That's the one with the fountain and the and the,
I saw people swimming.
the
in
civil,
fountain.
no, there's some coins in there. We're gonna subsidize the highway department, I guess, because everybody's throwing coins in there like it was a wishing well.
The
But,
fountain looks great, the
yeah,
highway
it
department got
really
that
does.
working up
It
again, it
really
looks
does.
really nice.
So, things are on the up and up. I swapped some emails with Jason today, and he wants to talk about some projects, so we'll see where that goes.
Is he gonna bring the
Okay.
Scottish games up?
I would love to have him. He wants to start a Hoosick bocce club, if anybody's interested in playing bocce. So anyway, that's about it.
Okay.
Very nice people.
Thank
Yeah.
you. Bobby?
Okay, well, in Neil's absence, I just have a little bit for the highway. As far as, he's been just getting ready, they have a road race along with the police department this weekend. It's, the Wood Memorial Road Race, and then next weekend, we have another, Memorial Day weekend, of course, the parade on Monday, the 25th, and then we have the village-wide tag sale on the 23rd, so Neil will be helping out with that as well, for getting things ready for no parking, whatever they're gonna need to do, along with the police department. And, then, as far as the, and I don't know, Dave, if he wanted to do this, I know he wanted to bring it up at the meeting, but he was going to appoint a deputy, highway superintendent. But I don't know if we should wait till next
I
month to
think
let
we
him
need
do
to
that.
have him do
Okay,
that.
okay,
But
that's what I
yes,
make sure.
that's something I know that he's looking to
Yep,
do.
that's what he told me, okay, and then the street cleaning, he told me, Karen, starting the week of, right now, they're trying to take care of the main thoroughfares, I know everybody's in the side streets and off the main drag, but as far as, he's trying to keep like Main Street, Church Street, and all the most traffic areas.
He did actually drive, which brought attention to Rogers Avenue, you know, which was funny, I mean.
Yeah, and just he's also been using the small skid steer to kind of get the bigger piles up. That's one thing regarding the street cleaning. The residents who are doing sweeping in front of their house and everything, it's great they're doing that, but they can't leave piles that are mounded like 8-10 inches high of dirt and debris, because that's only gonna clog up the street, and it's gonna just blow it everywhere else anyway. So you need to pick up those piles if you can on your own, but they'll take care of any residue, but it doesn't have to be immaculate. But as far as leaving the big piles and the big mounds of debris, that's not helping at all.
Where would you put the big piles of dirt? Just the dirt? If you got it off the street, I'm talking, before they got there.
I don't know that,
I
Ann.
don't know. 2 years and my uncle got kind of upset. He said, that's enough.
Also, Karen, one of the reasons he got behind was that the sweeper was out of service for, I think, a week and a half. New brakes up at
Yeah, I knew he said that to me, that it had broken.
It's back in now.
So the schedule we'll get the official schedule once because we talked on the phone today about this, but he was up in the air a little bit. But the week of June 8th, he was gonna start, what he wants to do is odd even parking, like for snow removal. And if the village people can cooperate like that,
that'd be great.
he wants to start the week of June 8th in First Ward. Like on Monday, it would be no parking on the even sides. Tuesday would be no parking on the odd sides. He said he'd start in First and Second Ward, but if all 4 wards could do it at once, like starting June 8th, try to park that way, because what they're gonna do is, if it's that much cooperation, they get a lot more done. He can go First Ward and Second Ward, he may get both those done in one day, and then move on to Third and Fourth, rather than just going back, side to side. If people cooperate, or going ward to ward, I should say. If he's asking that people would do that, it would definitely help. It'd be a lot easier for him to get it done.
Okay.
So that's what his schedule is right now, and I'll get that in writing for you, Rick, from Neil, and so we can put it on the website, so.
Yeah, I just kind of told everybody, wait till the end of May.
Well, that's what I did actually, because I had talked to Neil earlier, and he told me
Yeah.
it wouldn't be like till the first week of June, and he's pretty, plus dealing with every
I
other
know,
thing
yeah.
right now, it's not like they're sitting around flipping quarters, but,
Well, one big thing too that people don't realize is that it really needs to be raining for them to be doing
yeah,
it.
because it's just blowing the dust
right,
everywhere.
it's just
Yes.
like, I already cleaned off my porch from the winter. I don't wanna do it again if I can help it.
So, but that's his schedule for right now, and that's all I have for right now.
Well, how about in terms of the police?
No, that's for the highway.
Oh, sorry.
And the police.
Didn't mean to.
Yes, I just wanna, do we wanna do that now as far as the appointment?
Sure.
Okay.
Let's get that out there.
Based on this resume and Bob's recommendation, I'd like to make a motion that we appoint John Hudson Jr. as a part-time police officer, as Bob said, he's got a great resume. He's currently a SUNY police officer right now, and he's been at different campuses, different police departments, so he's got a pretty thorough resume here, so.
Okay, and this is part-time?
Part-time, yes.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Chief, we're just going over, Bob's put forth a motion to accept, is it John Hudson?
Jr., just for part-time?
Yes.
Okay. All right, we have a motion on the floor. Is there a second?
Second.
Ben, is there any further discussion?
He's from Brunswick. He's single. I've asked him about encouraging him to move to the village. And Bob, and your concerns, I think you're completely correct. I would love to get more people.
Yeah.
I'm trying.
You know, the local ones don't seem to be staying. I agree.
Yeah. We need to change that if we can.
And I'd
Okay.
also like to say, you know, that we accept Crystal's resignation with much regret, because we're
I wouldn't
losing a
accept
huge asset, you know, to the community. And we lost one right after another between Harold, you know, I mean, we picked him up as a judge, but we lost him as an asset to the police department, and the same as with Crystal. And I think that, you know, the drug dog, to me, that's a great asset to the police force, as far as kids and the community and all that.
All well said, but let's do it one at a time. We've
Yeah.
got a motion.
Oh, I thought you already did it.
No, we haven't done it yet.
I
gotta-
know,
we gotta vote.
I'm sorry. I
No, we
apologize.
had the discussion. This is the motion to approve John Hudson,
Sorry, I apologize.
part-time.
Yeah.
Any further discussion? There being none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That's carried.
When
Second
is
point?
his turn?
I've already said it. Sorry.
So now we need
Well-
to move to accept the
Do we,
resignation?
Yes.
Right.
okay.
Well, I will make that
And
motion.
Connor hasn't come in yet.
Second.
Okay, we gotta make sure the village clerk is with us
And
there.
Okay.
making sure these officers come in and sign.
Okay, so now we have a motion to accept with regret the
Yes.
resignation of Crystal
Crystal
Quell from her full-time position. Okay, there's a motion?
And a
Is
second.
that Bob? No, that was
Rick
you.
made the motion,
And
Kevin
Kevin
seconded.
Kevin, second. Okay, any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That has been accepted. Now, are we also talking about a part-time basis for her?
Keep her part-time.
Okay,
Okay. I'll make the motion that we appoint Crystal Quell as a part-time police officer.
Second.
Ben, second. Further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That's carried.
Can we point the dog too?
Did we get them all?
I think so.
Okay, just want to make sure. All right,
Yeah, 'cause,
Yeah,
there's new
okay,
business-
Kevin?
There's new business.
I don't really have anything.
yeah, you do, you gotta talk about the parade. You can't
Right.
get out of this.
Oh, the parade, yeah.
Come on.
You're looking for convertibles,
We're
right?
looking for convertible. Rick Dinano has volunteered his convertible for the parade. He has
If I
nice-
can get it to be running throughout the whole parade, you can have it.
We're looking for convertibles for the veterans, for Grand Marshal and the other veterans that have given their service to the country, the men and women of the auxiliary and the American Legion Post. So if anybody can think of anybody who volunteered with their convertible, please let us know.
Have you contacted Hemmings by any chance?
No, I haven't.
Because there's people who work there who live here that might
Good idea.
know. I know there's a guy who's got a big green Cadillac convertible, which I see in the different parades. He might be in the parade anyway.
But also
Find
think
out
about
who that
asking
is.
car dealers as well that,
Yeah.
in the area.
What about a Jeep? You take my Jeep.
You could do that too.
Mhm.
You could find a driver.
What about asking Tommy Rustino
Oh,
with the Pauls?
Good idea.
We got a connection there, sure. And Kevin, do you have the time frames for the ceremonies as yet?
I have a list at home, but I'm not sure what exactly. They go to all the monuments. They start at 8 o'clock in the morning, go to all the monuments, the
You
river.
send that to Rick and he'll get it on and, or send it to me too.
And if you could get it to the village clerk, that way Dee would be able to have access to it and hopefully get that in the paper.
We get it ahead of time, so we can publish it on the paper.
Yeah, I have it, and I'll have to send it off to you. Mark Fogert will be the Grand Marshal of the parade this year.
Who is?
Mark Fogert.
Oh, nice.
Great.
There was a
Okay.
vets thing,
Saturday.
school buses. and-
Yeah, it was quite a thing.
Yeah.
I'm gonna get into that in just a
I
minute.
kinda drove through the middle of it while they were
Yeah.
driving around the cemetery,
Yeah.
And with the school buses and everything, I thought that was, and there was one guy on a golf cart, I think leading the way, so I,
It was quite a golf cart.
yeah, I can imagine it was.
What happened this weekend, and I had that on my list, and that's what I couldn't remember. There's been a lot of promotion and a lot of work and a lot of recognition of veterans from the Hoosick area, from all the different wars, in particular those who have died. And this current weekend, the flag, which is known as Liberty, which has been flying over the different cemeteries where Hoosick veterans are buried across the country, including Hawaii. And Central School was very involved in bringing the flag there and flying it there, because we have one or two people, I just can't remember the exact number, who are buried there from World War II. The flag came back. It was escorted by the Patriot Guard, which makes up a bunch of those motorcycles. And there was one amazing motorcycle that actually someone with a motorized wheelchair drives right into, and actually drives the motorcycle. It was just amazing, just
That's
amazing.
a big white.
Yeah,
white one.
it
I
was
saw
just,
that,
it
yeah.
was something. Anyway, what happened this weekend was that the Voice of the Vet recognized every veteran that was buried here within Hoosick Falls or within the town, and individual flags and their biographies were read, and they were recognized. And it's the first time that that's been done, and who knows if that would be done again, but people were recognized for what they did. Went back to the different wars, went to all 3 cemeteries. The school participated because they provided buses, because some of the living vets, it's just too much to walk and to get around. Family members were invited. It was quite an emotional and quite an impressive ceremony. It started at 10 o'clock in the morning and went till about 2 in the afternoon. There were refreshments at the church. Now, we were right in the middle of the power outage as well, but people were able to, make do, and it really came off very, very well, with a great deal of respect and dignity. And again, every single veteran who is buried here, their story was told. They were recognized. A new flag was placed on their grave, and Liberty, the flag that has visited all of these different sites and will be going to Europe, was flown over each one of the cemeteries. So it was really something very, very nice. And again, we want to thank Voice of the Vet for doing that. They held a fundraiser last week up at Brown's. They raised quite a bit of money to help with the costs on this. So it was really, really something special. So it was a good day. Okay, Kevin, you're done? You're good? Okay, gonna
I'll
move.
just mention a couple of things before I forget.
Yep.
Hoosickle Furnishings is this weekend as
Good
well.
point.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I almost forgot to
That's
note
Saturday.
that. Right, and prom is Saturday too. And one other thing, Browns was gonna have the first annual Browns Cup trout fishing tournament. That was supposed to be happening this weekend, and unfortunately they had to cancel it. So if people were planning on going to that,
Are they gonna try and
they're
reschedule?
try again
Okay.
next year.
Cancel?
Yeah, so it's canceled. And the trout dinner that they were gonna have is canceled as well.
Okay.
Public service announcement.
All right, thank you. We're gonna move on to old business. And here, I need a little bit of help here. John, and I need some help on this one, and also from the village clerk. You will recall that at our March meeting, we held a public hearing, and we talked about some of the issues that we've had with appointments to different positions, and that the current law stated that we needed to have village residents in a number of these different positions. And we made an exception at the March meeting for the acting justice position. But then we also started taking a look at this, and the village attorney looked at this as well, looking at all of our appointed positions. And quite honestly, it's difficult to find people. People are working, they're working 30, 40 miles away, they're driving every day. By the time they get home, they're pooped, and I understand, I truly do. So we were just trying to broaden the field a little bit to allow, so that we could make appointments from town of Hoosick, just still within, but with town of Hoosick, and in some instances even just within Rensselaer County, but not outside of that. What we did was we did not adjourn that public hearing. We just, I don't postponed isn't the word, but we just went forward with it
Correct.
to this meeting. And I'm not sure if we have to formally enter into the public hearing, or if we could just go right into discussion.
No, what you should do is just have a motion to reopen the public hearing.
Okay,
And then if it's all right, I'll address the board about what I see and then
Okay.
we'll get into the discussion if that's all right.
all right, thank you. Could we have a motion? Is there a motion to
Motion.
reopen? Ben?
I'll second that.
Second, further discussion? All those in favor? Any opposed? That motion's carried.
Thank you. Well, basically, based on the direction from the mayor and the board, what I've been doing, especially since we last visited this issue in March, is I've been looking at the totality of not only all the law that I've been able to find, but also because, every once in a while I have one of those senior moments, just to go back and see if I've addressed this issue in the past, either here or in one of the other villages. And what I'd like to do is just to say that I did in fact remember and did find that we still have the local law I did in 1996 that's on the books, which is a good one. Still good law. And I researched that based on what kind of frequency that you would have, plus all the facts. For instance, like Denise is an appointed village official, but she lives outside the village now, and you have others as well. So I went back and looked at 1996 law, because I tried to put as much flexibility in that as possible. If I can refer you to that local law, hopefully Ann has a copy when I asked her to produce a copy. We have a number of different things that I incorporated into that local law. And but as you say, there are emergency situations where sometimes you just can't find the person you need right then. Manpower requirements are very, very difficult to satisfy in any of the small communities not only over this state, but all over the United States. And the thing is, there are times that you need to go out. You have to go outside the village. There's just no two ways about it. And so that the village residents, and this is the balancing act we did when we did this local law, so the village residents and others who might wish to apply would have some sort of a standard to know how and why they would actually go outside. We tried to address all those issues, and it's a balancing act. I'm not gonna kid you. Section 3 is talks about new municipalities, or excuse me, new municipal employees, and that dates back. This is the 1996 law that we have now. Initially employed by the village, they can basically live almost anywhere, except that as a qualification appointment, you want them to become a resident within 6 months of the date of the initial service of the village. Okay. However, we had people even then that were living outside the village, so I addressed that in section 4. Current village employees are appointees and employees. Now, don't forget, an appointee can also be an employee, but there are others that are employees. Persons appointed or employed in any capacity by the village prior to the effective date of this local law shall be absolutely exempt from the provisions of this local law, except as to those relating to the promotion as set forth in section 5 herein. I provided the promotional piece because there might be people that they live outside the village. Now you're going to promote them to something more. You really would rather have them live in the village. Maybe it's a convenience issue because it's something to do with the police department or the DPW. So at that point, what we've said there is that all employees promoted by the village on or after an effective date of this local law shall be, or within 1 year of such promotion, shall become a resident of the village. That's the way you capture them. Now, this law was fairly specific. I remember agonizing over it a long time ago. But I also tried to provide a way in which residency could be investigated. If somebody says, well, I live in the village, And he goes, no, you don't, you know, so we have you'll see there's a procedure in there of how you can address that. The other thing is the waiver of requirements, and I think that's one that we should look at. And if we're going to maximize our opportunity to modernize this law or do whatever you think is appropriate, once again, I have a waiver opportunity here, so that the village board, if they think you guys think it's in the best interest of the village to hire somebody, even all we've just said before, outside the village, we can do it. And if you look at section 8, that'll give you the reason for it. Lack of applicants, and it speaks to that. Necessity for non-residents. There might be, may not be in the best interest of the municipality of having somebody this close because of the kind of work that they're doing. You don't know. Could be, and I was thinking about actually, and there was a thought at one point of having officers that were undercover officers. So, I mean, we're not talking about sheriff's department, you know, I think years ago, I don't remember him, back in the 70s, we talked about having constables too.
We did have.
You know, and we had one for about 2 weeks, I think. So, in any event, the whole idea here also is if you have an applicant applying for a part-time position as a police officer, or he or she has completed the basic police school as provided by law, well, we do that all the time. We have people out from a ways away, we allow that. So having said that, I went back and looked at state law. State law, we're talking about the village law in this instance. It says that notwithstanding any other provisions of law to the contrary, the Board of Trustees of the village may provide in lieu of any other residency requirement imposed by law that any appointed village officer may reside within a county in which the village is wholly or partially situated. Okay. Now, two types of individuals that we think about when we think about those kinds of appointments would be, and we've already discussed this at the last time, but we have an assessor, and we also have an acting village judge who actually live outside the village. Now, I think a piece of Harold's driveway is in the village.
Yeah.
Do you send them a tax bill? That's what I thought I'd ask.
Twice.
So, having looked at all that, you can see that we do have the opportunity for those particular classes of people to be able to provide, an opportunity for the village, if they feel that there is a reason to do it, to be able to hire people outside the village and within the county. Now, the only thing that I would mention is, this is kind of a funny statute. I'm referring to the village law 3-300. In some instances, I think that they became a little nervous in certain areas of the country, or I should say of the state, and they have specifically asked the legislature to allow actual exceptions to certain classes of village residents that are non-village residents to work in villages. You can see it, I mean, I can run through all the examples, but we'd be here all night. But the long and the short of it, the ones that they seem to be talking about are the office of, I'll give you an example. Office of village court clerk, things like that. But the rest of the stuff, I think that, and you might even have a judge that would want to live outside, and that's been provided for in here as well. I'm talking about not an acting village judge, I'm talking about the village judge. So that's been provided for. Just as a reminder, we were concerned about when you had Mac and you were going to make him the acting justice. I have an Attorney General's opinion, which is still good law from 1987, which I had last time for everybody to look at, and should that be necessary, indicated that, quite frankly, you could do what you needed to do. You could have somebody outside the village acting as a village justice. They do it in other parts of the various counties around here, even in the village of Cambridge. They have the town judge for the town of Cambridge does not live in the village of Cambridge, but she is the acting village judge for the village of Cambridge. And once again, that's provided for in this Attorney General's opinion. So what does that mean? What that means is that the local law that we have been considering, which is the modern one that we started to craft, I think needs more work, and we need to identify more specifically whether or not you want to create an entire new residency law, or whether you want to take the one from 1996, which is fairly specific, and see if there's some way that you might want to address certain aspects of that. So I guess that my recommendation to the board would be that you table this local law, and that until the board gets a chance to look at what we already have on the books, and maybe people can send me comments or questions. That's what I was going to suggest.
So the 96 law really covers any of the situations that we have
In my opinion,
right
yes.
now. And what, I believe, just so that I'm clear on it, covers all of our different types of situations. We want to take a look at it to see if if things have changed, or if there are other situations that maybe we didn't know about, or whatever. Get those comments to you to take a look at, and see if the 96 law can be either amended or modified, rather than starting from scratch and doing a whole new law.
Well, I think that's probably better. I mean, once you get into this residency, it seems simple, is really not that simple. Even the experts in the field sometimes disagree, but there's some basic points that you can pull out of, and for our purposes, it's the village law, which makes me think that we probably addressed at least 95 to 98% of the current concerns that you've addressed, and still providing it so that the residency in the village is still the primary, is a primary concern for an employee or an appointee, but there are times that maybe you can't do that. So there you have your waiver provisions, and you have your criteria.
Should we go forward with a motion to formally accept this as such?
Yeah, I would go forward with a motion to close the public hearing and table the local law.
So two motions.
You do it one.
One? Okay.
I'm
All
gonna
right.
keep the hearing open for a
Couple more
short time
months.
longer.
No.
Would you recommend us making an amendment to this law, or abolishing the law and replacing it, the 96 law?
My opinion is that this is good enough, so you should just take a look at it and see if it does what you want it to do.
Okay, because it doesn't even get into specifics of county here. It just says they could pretty much live anywhere. They could live in Vermont for all we care as far as this law is
Well,
concerned.
you couldn't live in Vermont. You'd have to take somebody
Stay
from
within
within
the
the
state.
state.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's why, and there are the provisions of a 3,300 indicate you can have people within the certain classes of people you can have within the county. So what I'm thinking that, if you do amendments at all, it should be for certain classes of individuals.
Okay.
Or certain titles, which is sometimes easier because civil service has a list of all these titles.
Okay, so is there a motion?
To adjourn. the
To
public-
adjourn as well
close
as
the
to-
public hearing.
What?
Close the public hearing.
Close the public hearing,
Closing the public
but
hearing.
also to table.
That's why I
So
said
we're gonna do both in one?
That's
Yeah.
what he said, yes.
The table is until,
Are you making the
a
motion?
chance to review it further, is that?
Yeah.
Okay, I am making a motion.
Did you get that? Is there a second?
Good motion.
Second.
Karen, thank you very much. Okay. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Yeah, yeah, ain't that law.
Yes.
Feel free to interpret what I said.
I'm gonna start drawing pictures for the stuff that he's
Dan's
saying.
been doing that for years.
All right.
That'll work, guy.
All right. Thank you, John.
You're welcome.
Okay, another question for you, John.
Sir.
Obviously, we've closed on the Skorupski property. We've talked about
Yeah.
that, and we want to have a nice ceremony. Have we formally closed on the Pan Am property?
Oh, yeah, you should already have the deeds. You have the
Okay,
deeds.
so that is, all right, so we did formally close on that.
Yeah,
Okay.
because
I'll get something out to
originally,
everybody.
4 years ago, or whenever this thing started, there was some confusion between the different companies within the railroad about who owned what. That's why when it got right down to the nitty-gritty, one side of the railroad realized that the other side of the railroad had not provided accurate information, so we had to redo the deeds.
Okay, thank you very much.
Referencing something else entirely when I saw the agenda.
I was talking about the
Okay.
I
Moving right
did too.
along. Okay, I want to give people an update on the water situation. Where we stand right now is that we are about midway through a pilot project. And what we have done is we have taken a large sample of our water, 5 gallons actually. It's been sent to a company in Pittsburgh. It's going to be there. They're going to take about a dozen samples of that water. And they're going to do 2 things. Take the samples of the water, and they are also, we are going to see if in fact GAC, or granulated activated carbon, is in fact effective in terms of holding out the PFOA, PFC family of elements. It's very important that we learn the expected lifetime of the filters. If in fact it turns out to be effective, then the board, we will be discussing the next steps to take. But basically, the next steps would include a secondary filter system. In addition to what we currently have, a secondary carbon filter system. And if that proves to be effective, that would block all of the issues that, all of the concerns that we have regarding PFOA and that whole PFC family. So that's where we are. We're still a couple of weeks out. You will recall that initially, I think I mentioned that estimates for the pilot sample were in the neighborhood of $30,000 to $40,000. We met with the people from Calgon, which is the company that works out of Pittsburgh, and they are the experts as far as we've been led to believe regarding this type of thing. And right now, the total cost for the sample pilot is just under $6,000. Still a lot of money, no question, but 6 is not 40. So that's a considerable savings. Once we get the results back from that, we will then be taking a look at the overall cost to bring in the carbon and to set it up. Again, it's a little too soon to know exactly what we have, but I have asked the engineers from MRB to start working on a projected cost so that we can then know how much we need to deal with. And I will be then following up with our elected officials as well as state and federal officials regarding grants and hopefully free money. So that's something definitely we're gonna be working on. So as we get more information, obviously we'll be making that available. Okay, so that's where we are there. Quick zoning update. We anticipate our draft of the new zoning laws to be going up online through a company called General Code that had been approved by the board in our last budget. So we have that in place. The initial steps for the zoning were to take all of that mishmash, and I think you were referencing that a little bit, Mark, all the different laws and pieces, put them together, make some sense out of it, which has been done, so that it's easily readable, easily understandable. B&L has done that. They're finishing that up. Probably by the end of the summer, that will be completed. The next step then is to take a look at all the situations that need to be grandfathered. Okay, you know, this doesn't fit with what we've said the law should be. Well, what are you gonna do about it? Are you gonna make the places, is that particular piece of property gonna be vaporized as of tomorrow? That's not real. That's not gonna happen. So we have to deal with it in a practical way. So we are seeking grants to assist and do that, and a little bit later on in the agenda, we'll have a resolution approving B&L to go forward with a grant application. And I'll get into more detail about that as we go forward. The next, our economic development plan and strategy, which we're working with the town as well. Our next Hoosick Rising meeting will be on June 3rd, which I believe is a Wednesday. No, it's a Tuesday. No, it's a Wednesday. It's a Wednesday, June 3rd. It's a Wednesday, and that's going to be held at Brown's Brewery in North Hoosick. That's going to be at 6 p.m. We'll be going over some of the issues, not the issues, but the projects that we've touched on. There have been 3 hard copies of the strategic plan out in the community. One's at the library, I want to say, one's at Bagels and Brew, I believe, and there's another one at Maggie's Salon. Some people have made comments and gotten them back to us. Those are being put together. Once we have the June Hoosick Rising meeting, we will identify probably 3 projects to be working on out of the many that have been identified. But we'll start with 3 to get moving throughout the summer. We will not hold another Hoosick Rising meeting until September. People want to enjoy the summer after the absolutely agonizing winter that we've gone through. So we'll get started up again in the summer, but there'll be projects to move on and to work on. Okay, moving ahead, we need a motion to formally approve a peddler's permit for Kyle DeGraff, the fried dough guy. Everybody knows the fried dough guy, okay? For April, is it just April and May?
April, May.
Just April and May, okay. Is there a motion?
Motion.
Bobby? Rick, second. Bobby, initial. Further discussion?
Is there a reason why it's only April and May?
Oh, yes.
That's what he asked for.
Okay. Seems like there'd be other events, like in June, July, and August.
He may
that
come back and get,
You would just think that you would just make the
Yeah.
whole summer and
That-
not,
I thought it was strange.
not come back
but he
again.
wanted,
Okay.
Any further discussion? There being none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion's carried, thank you. Also looking for a motion to appoint Janet DeLuca as a police matron, retroactive to April. When we did our organizational meeting, we had 1 matron at that point in time. We've had someone else volunteer to come forward on that. So is there a motion?
So moved.
Bob?
That's excellent.
Bob D?
I'll
Okay.
second that.
Rick, second.
Okay, I'll ask the question. What is a police matron?
There's the chief.
What is a police matron?
Takes care of the females.
They take
Female
care of
prisoners.
females. Our females, when we have, not all the time, but when we make an arrest on a female,
Mhm.
minor offenses, it's not a problem. If it gets into something major, where a search has been completed, transporting female with male officer to the jail. That's what we're.
Okay.
Further
No.
discussion?
I don't, not anymore.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That is carried. Okay, at the last meeting, we talked about a sign or signs for out front, one identifying the village offices here, the municipal building, and possibly putting something up over the doorway as well. We looked at that. Kevin, you were able to come up with a photo of a potential sign that would identify the different village offices that are housed here.
I was.
Okay, and then Rick, you had a thought about something over the front door?
Yeah, some lettering for above the front door. Actually, I looked at some old photos. I was gonna put Village Hall up there, but it used to say municipal building. Municipal building, right. Oh, yeah, there we go. It used to say municipal building. Well, that's just a painting. That might be just interpreted.
This is the, and we're trying to follow the same format as the welcome to the village signs.
She said she would come back and color match more favorably to what the signs are at the moment.
Okay, so what we have, obviously,
Well, it's
village
pretty
clerk,
close.
police department, village court, building inspector.
Did you actually get a measurement on this thing, how big it's gonna be? I'm concerned that it's not gonna be substantial enough out there,
36
considering it's
by
going up
30.
next to a building.
36 by 30.
So 3 by 2.5.
2.5.
I don't
So
think,
about as big as the new Hoosick Rising signs we got, about the new banners we got. Yeah, that's cool, that's good.
and did you have a price?
$375 for the sign alone. Then the post and everything, it comes to $630.
Okay,
I think that I can install that ourselves, so. I didn't,
Don't hide,
The installer just, the potential installer just went that away.
He's right there,
Gotta
he's
do is say
standing
no.
listening.
First, yeah, I get the
Say no.
After watching the initial installation of the other signs, I think we can do it.
Well, we would use economic development funds, which we could do for this, put that out front. There's long been issues, we all know. Where is the place? Across from Rite Aid. I mean, across from the post
In the
office.
park.
In the police department.
Next to the park.
I think this would really make it stand out. So, right now, we're talking about, the price was $375? Is that what
Right.
you, $375. So is there a motion regarding
Motion?
this particular?
Second.
Okay.
Karen's got it.
Second.
Ben, Karen, second, further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion is carried.
Can we put Ann's picture out front too?
What's something delivery?
Now, what about the municipal building?
Or
What
are you
about
gonna
the-
put posts up?
The municipal building sign, let's work on that one next.
Would outsiders know, though, is it a municipal building other than,
I don't know. That's what that
It
said,
was good
right?
enough for them.
Do we wanna do that? Do we wanna wait and see what this one looks like first, or?
Yeah.
I'm just putting out options out there. What do you think? And, just so, you got a tentative price, didn't you?
Yeah, it's under $100.
So it was under $100 for the letters to put up.
I think it would look nice.
I like that.
So, okay, so is there a motion?
Motion.
Karen, is there a second?
I'll second that.
Rick, further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, we'll go forward with that, but that would also come out of the economic development funds. We would have that.
Now we need, do we want municipal building or village hall? Which one we prefer?
Municipal building.
I
Municipal
thought we were
building?
going with the original.
Yeah, go with the original, Rick.
Okay, all right,
I also
still,
talked to Neil about flags to replace some of the ones that are missing and some,
what he needs are the
Brackets.
the
Yeah.
brackets. Yeah, and I know he was looking for that. Okay? Did you wanna ask him about that specifically?
no, I've been talking to him email, so we found it.
Okay, all right. I want to give a quick update on Oak Mitsui. And the good news with that is that the great majority of employees that were directly impacted by the layoff and the moving to Malaysia, the Department of Labor has moved very, very quickly. What I've been told after talking with management from Oak Mitsui is that well over 60% of the folks that were impacted have positions. Some are not actively looking for positions. There were a couple of retirements. Department of Labor, through the Fair Trade Act, provides a $20,000 lifetime stipend that can be used for anyone that's impacted and they lose their job as a result of a company going overseas. And that money can be used for education, it can be used for training. If at Oak Mitsui, they were making $10 an hour, and I'm just making numbers up here, don't be quoting me here. And at their new job, they're making $9 an hour. This money can be used to bring that up so that they don't take a loss. So, I mean, there are a number of good things as far as that goes. The actual facility itself, initially, we had been told that the plans were to demolish the building. That may still happen, but we were being told that it was going to be demolished by the end of the fall. Right now, the plan is to take everything out of the building, which I think pretty much has happened. They've had a public auction. But the building will, utilities will remain in place, including heat. The building, they're not planning on demolishing it immediately. They will keep the heat on, particularly through the winter, because of the snow pack on top of the roof. Then from there, their plans are up in the air. Now, I in no way want this to be interpreted that means they're going to be turning it into a manufacturing site again. I did not get that impression at all. I think their plans are up in the air. I've had some follow-up discussions with DEC and others about the availability of funds for both a manufacturer as well as a municipality in terms of what are referred to as brownfields to help clean areas up, and tax credits and different things that can be done to make sure that the current manufacturer has an incentive to do what needs to be done. So right now, we're still learning, we're still gathering the information. We did meet with the police chief, fire chief, building inspector. We've talked about what the building is going to be like. When they're ready, there'll be the fire chief, police chief, and the building inspector will tour the building so that they know if in fact anything happens, what it's like inside. The alarm system is going to be kept in place, kept current. So that's the latest. As things change, which inevitably they will, I will certainly keep everybody up to date, but we're gonna be focusing on working with them so that we have a good situation. We're gonna try and make lemonade out of lemons here. We do the best that we can in this kind of a situation. So that is there, okay. Next item, as you know, we had been looking at the Village Highway Garage. We had a tour of both the town garage and the highway garage probably a month ago now, maybe even longer, to see if in fact it's feasible to combine the spaces, if it could even be done, and that's not anything that's being planned to be done tomorrow. We're just trying to look at all of the options. As one of the options we need to look at is what needs to be done with the village garage. Does it need to be taken down right to the ground? Is the skeleton, is the structure good? So in order to do that, we need to have an engineering assessment done. And we have a rough idea in terms of what that may cost. But we're really going to have to try to procure 3 estimates on that. We're estimating that it's gonna be less than $5,000. We'll find out when the assessments come in. So what I would like is a motion from the board to advertise so that we can go forward with that, so that we at least find out what it would cost to have an engineer professionally look at it to tell us what we need to do. Once we have that information, then we can start to develop a plan.
Motion?
Ben, Bobby, second. Further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
We're gonna send, we have the names of a couple more engineering firms, and we're just gonna put a bid out and advertise it, how we're gonna go about doing that.
Well, what we can do, because of the price here, we can, we need to get a written request, but we're not required by our procurement to go out and advertise
Okay.
for that. If we can't come up with names, we may need to do that.
So we can reach out to engineering firms, but
And
we
see
don't
if
have
they're
to
interested.
advertise,
Right.
like, put in the back of the paper.
Now, if it turns out that, this is a $50,000 job or a cost, that's different. We'll have to play by different
Okay.
rules.
So you're not gonna advertise it?
No, I don't believe we need to. We'll take a look at that. And
You know,
if we're under 5,000, we just need to try.
Well,
and-
it's more than that, it's also because it's the fact that it's professional services that are required. You don't really have to get too excited about it. All you have to do is get somebody who's competent and a price you can live with.
Okay.
And are you required, it says, but accept the lowest bid, or can you?
No,
Okay.
no, when it comes to professional services, you're always looking for the the biggest bang for your buck, but you wanna get competent somewhere.
Okay, that's what I was curious.
I know I remember riding on certain helicopters that had been engineered by people, and some corporal or sergeant would say to me, I know this was the lowest bid, what do you think?
Don't want that information, not at that time.
Okay.
Okay,
Too
so
late
we're
to
good
worry
with
about
that?
it then.
Yep.
All right. At the last meeting, we approved seeking bids to demolish the old water plant. Have we put anything in the papers yet for that?
No, this is what Neil gave me.
Okay, so we have specs on that.
Yes.
We will put that in the paper and we will
Okay.
see what we can come up with there. What we're really looking for is no cost. Take the bricks,
Yep.
that kind of thing, see what we can work out. Okay, all right, thank you.
Fire department, they could,
Get that.
no cost.
That's
Fire
right.
department, they could, no cost.
No cost, yeah, it's another way to do it. Okay, this next item is on the agenda. It says water filter option. And I tried to get some information out to everybody on the board, so you've got a little bit of background information. The current water plant has been in operation 2008, 2009, since that time. The filtration system, all right, the filtration system has an average life of about 10 years. And then over time, some might last a little bit longer. Over time, you have to replace them because they get filled up with the gunk that they're filtering, taking out of the water. The prices on the filtration system have dropped significantly over the years. Initially, we have 64. We have 2 skids, if you will, of 32 filters each. And we have 64 filters. Initially, when the plant was first built, I was told that each one of those filters cost in the range of $20,000 a piece. They have since come down because they're making more of them. More municipal water plants are using them, et cetera, et cetera. We got a call from the company that makes them who put our filtration system in. This has nothing to do with the carbon system. This is our existing system that we have now. We got a call from the company saying, hey, we had a contract with another municipality and they pulled out, for whatever reason, at the last minute. We've got 64 filters. We need to sell them. We'll give you a good price. We had our engineer, or we had our consultant from MRB, as well as Jim and myself. We had a phone conference with the folks from Paul Corporation. They're the ones that put the filters in. We talked about it. What they are saying is that they would offer us these filters at around $2,900 to $2,800 a piece. The going rate has dropped significantly from 20,000 to closer to 3,600. Okay, I mean, that's a significant drop over the last few years, but that's where it is. What this would do, this change in price from 36 to 28, would be a savings to us, or to us in this particular instance, of approximately $45,000 up front. Here's the given. The 64 filters are going to need to be replaced. Do they need to be replaced today? Nope. Tomorrow? Nope. Sometime. The other thing that I've learned is that you do not replace them one at a time. We've got 2 skids. Each one has 32 filters in it. It's impossible to tell which filter is not working properly, but is not as efficient as it was out of the one skid. So you replace the whole skid. And you tell by how quickly and how repeatedly you have to backwash it. I've become somewhat of an expert in this stuff, and it's scary, I'm telling you. But in addition, they are giving us, or they are offering to us as part of this package, a 10-year warranty with them, which means a 3-year upfront 100% warranty if there's any problem, and then another 7-year prorated warranty. It gets better. They are not looking to have us purchase these this afternoon. They would wait up to a year, and they would store them for us. And we would only purchase them as we took the skid, so we would have to purchase 1 skid at a time.
So they don't hold them like in consignment for us?
Yes, they would hold them, and then when we said we're ready for one, then we would pay. And they would hold them for up to a year. We've requested a proposal, a written proposal. They sent one. They made some mistakes on it. Another thing they said they would do is they would give us free transportation of the transfer of the filters. That's a significant amount of money. The 10-year warranty isn't free because you have to pay for that, but when you filter, no pun intended, when you factor all of those things in, it still comes out to be about a $45,000, maybe a little bit better, savings to the village, which eventually we're going to have to replace. The total comes out to be in the neighborhood of $200,000, depending on which way we're going. Anywhere from about $192,000 to $200,000. I'm not going to give away any secrets here, but we're not sitting on a pile of money. We don't have $192,000 sitting around that we could just grab, okay? So clearly, if we wanted to do this, it would be something that we would take a look at in terms of a loan, another ban that we wanted to do. I've spoken with the village treasurer, I've asked her about our debt ceiling. We are well below, she's gonna get the figures for me, but really our only debt is the current ban that we borrowed last year, and we're making our first payment this year. And the 2 bond payments, that's the only debt that we have. That's all a good thing. And I'm in no way saying we should go out and borrow. I'm just saying, these are the options that we have. I've spoken with MRB, I've spoken with the engineers. They're saying this is a good deal. It's a good price. Now, if we go out and borrow money, we're gonna have to pay some interest on it. Will we pay $45,000 worth of interest? Probably not. But we'll have to pay some interest on it. You know, maybe the 45,000 savings gets knocked down a little bit, but it's still a considerable amount of savings. Now, one of the things that we have done with this year's budget, and you hopefully you will recall, in each fund balance, we've put a $10,000 contingency in the hopes that over the years we can continue to do that, so that 10 years from now we've got $100,000 and something like this comes up and it costs $200 to replace, you're halfway home. This was never done in the past for a variety of reasons. Probably wasn't possible to do in the past. So we're trying to go forward with it, all right? But we really do need to let the company know. Now, do I have to tell them tomorrow, yes or no? No, but I need to get back to them to say, we're interested, but it's contingent upon X, Y, Z. No, we're not interested, thank you very much. And the next time we call, if they go, we're gonna have to come up with whatever 32 filters cost on a skid, which will be somewhere in the neighborhood of $90,000 plus. So, this is a lot of information, it's fairly quick. If they still cost $20,000 a piece, I'd be saying this is a no-brainer. I'd go home and rob the piggy bank, because the savings would be absolutely phenomenal. But it's not, the price has dropped. So it's somewhere in the neighborhood of $45,000. That's what I know. We need to make some type of a decision. It could certainly be a decision with contingencies attached. If we're going to do that, I'd like to have a little bit of flexibility so that, for the most part, it'll be me getting back to these folks along with our folks from MRB and our water department to take a look at this. So I just wanted to put it out there. Again, a lot of information. So who's going to be the first to jump in?
How many more years, Dave, do you think the
I've asked,
current ones will last, or?
we asked the Paul people, and they said these filters are so good in terms of what they do block. Now, they don't block the PFCs, so they ain't that great, but nothing does, as far as we can tell, save the carbon. We've been told 12 years is not uncommon, maybe 14. Kenny, I don't know if you're directly involved, but Jim and Josh are not here, but they backwash, they clean those. There's no indication as of today that there's the slightest decrease, in effectiveness. None whatsoever.
It all depends. I mean, you have your, depends on how much water you're using, how much flow is going out per day. I mean, there's hundreds of different things that can cause them to fail or to.
And what we've been told is they're not gonna fail like boom, suddenly tomorrow they're useless.
No,
and you're stuck.
You'll notice a significant increase in your
And they'll have to be
backwashing
backwashed more frequently. So there is some lead time here. But again, I'd be remiss if I didn't say, hey, we've got an opportunity here. We need to at least make a determination if it's something we would like to do at this point in time.
The hard part is that, like you're saying, they don't all go bad at once. So it's like, so you're in essence, you're changing all 32 at once. So you could have 4 or 5 that are going to affect negatively affect the flow, and then do the change out, and you're leaving 20-something good, you know.
Oh, no,
or-
what they'll do is all 32 will come out.
That's what I'm saying, but,
Oh.
yeah, right, that's what I'm saying, so, but you don't reuse them, correct?
No, the company may do, I don't know what they do.
You know what I'm saying?
But no, we can't.
We could have some that are still,
Yeah.
have a lot of efficiency left when you're changing out those 32
It
that
could
were-
be.
But they don't really, the way that it would work is like if you had 5 that started failing,
Yeah.
all the crap that, or whatever, that those aren't catching are moving on to the next one. And,
Okay, so, okay.
You know, in a week's time, that one's gonna fill up, and then, you know,
Yeah.
it just.
It's a trickle-down effect,
Yeah.
like, okay, all right, I just, you know what I'm saying, I'm just trying to think,
Yeah.
comprehend of, that's a lot of money.
It is. And now, just as an aside, I've been told that the carbon filters, totally different topic, okay, but still related, can be recycled. And that can be done. These particular filters cannot, at least for us to use.
But carburetors are a lot more expensive as well.
Well, yeah, but I'm just saying that, that's where the technology is now. In
Right.
5 years, it may be,
Right.
may be different.
Did we know that we were gonna have to buy these at some point when it was built in the first place?
Well, did I? I don't know.
No, I'm
I
not
wasn't
saying, I'm
there.
just saying, I mean, you
You were
obviously
on the
had.
board the first
you
time. Yeah, you
actually had
probably
to talk
knew.
to Jim. I mean, I just, the frustrating part about this is that, we could have been putting some money aside every year, knowing that we were gonna have to replace them at some point.
Mhm.
It sounds like they did though, if they only last so many years.
Well, I don't know. I don't think, I can tell you that within our water budget, and again, I don't know the reasons, and I'm not gonna, different times, decisions were made for different reasons. I wasn't part of that.
Right.
We have started that with this budget going forward, trying to put some money in place so that we'll be able to do that. Did we know that the water plant or the sewer plant, are the parts gonna last forever? Nope, they are not. So this is something we need to be planning for. I didn't know that the filter plants, generally speaking, had a 10-year lifespan until the company called. And then I asked.
Is there any way to find out if they can refurbish those once they go out of here?
Sure,
And maybe get them
sure.
back at some point?
Sure, that's a question that
I'm
can be
just
asked.
curious if that's,
Yep.
can be done.
So, that's something that, but that, well, yeah, we can certainly ask that question.
But if they're having to take them out in a whole series, it doesn't seem like that would be, it'd be feasible to salvage them.
I don't know, that's, we just gotta ask, I honestly don't know.
Are we gonna make a decision tonight, or is that?
Well, what you have to understand,
I know, somebody else could take them.
somebody else could take them. So if we decide, if the board decides, no, we just don't wanna go forward, that's the decision. And then we just go forward and hope we're in good shape and all the rest of it. If we decide to do something, we do not have to spend any money today. They will hold them up to a year, so that gives us some time. But if we make the commitment to them, I cannot in good faith, and I know no one on the board would, just say, yeah, hold them for a year, and then, no, we're not gonna take them a year
11
from
months
now.
later, say,
Yeah,
nah, we're all set.
We can't do that. We're not gonna do that. Again, something that we could do would be to say, yes, we're very interested, contingent upon X, Y, and Z, getting answers to this question, that question. They're looking to sell these products because they don't really keep them on the shelf. They manufacture them as they're needed. So it's that kind of a situation. Is the timing good for us? Maybe it is, maybe it isn't, But we need to at least be aware of it and then see what direction we wanna go in.
And if we bought them, would we buy all 64 or only half, or does that have to sell us all 64, or would they?
Well, yeah, because that's what they've set up. We would not have to actually pay for any until they were delivered.
Right.
Those kinds of things. But then we also have to look at and see where the funds would come from. Now, we may be able to do some things internally for part of it. We may not have to borrow, all of it. But again, I don't have any of that information right now. This just was happening too quickly to even think about that.
If we make a decision tonight to go forward, will they give us a little bit of time to look at how we're gonna pay for that first?
Well, yeah, I mean, that's one of the things I asked them.
Mhm.
Basically, I said, you know, can you guys help finance this? Because it's gonna take us some time. They said they could not do that, however, they realized.
Right.
Right now,
We do
they're,
have some-
I think what they're really saying is, look, you know, we're being squeezed, we have these filters here, we need to make sure they're intended to move. If not, we take the bite, I mean, that's running the business.
Mhm.
And then we say, yes, we're interested, or no, we're not. There are not gonna be any hard feelings either way. It's just, it's an opportunity. Do we wanna take advantage of it? Do we wanna, say something like, yes, we're interested, but we have to see if the financing is there, and if we can come up with the financing, gee, it's gonna cost us $35,000 to save $45,000. Is that really worth it in the long run? I mean, those are things we don't know right now. Or we may look at it and say, wow, this, again, no brainer, 45 right off the top. You know, we ought to jump on this.
I think it's proactive, I mean, if you decide not to do that, you know, and then you'd be kicking yourselves in a month when those filters start failing. And you're like, oh.
Well, we could also be kicking ourselves if the prices drop further.
Yeah, I agree.
Because
I mean,
20,000 to 3,000 is a pretty freaking big jump.
What, in 12 years, all right?
Yeah, well, not 12, but in the last, where are we, 6, 8 years?
they also have to manufacture these, so if, you know, if we don't have them on hand, and then all of a sudden you know, we start needing them, and you call them up and they say, it's gonna
Lead
take
time's
6
12
weeks
weeks, yeah, whatever.
Right.
for us to make these for you, we might not have 6 weeks, or 12 weeks, or however long.
It's a tough.
Why don't we
Are you
do-
looking for a motion, Mayor?
I'm looking for the direction that we
I'll-
want to go in.
I'll make the motion that we purchase the water filters contingent on us being able to being able to find financing, some type of financing to afford them.
Okay, okay.
And
what
then
I
everybody
could,
can discuss after.
And I'll second it, as long
Okay.
as like what you said that, like you said, contingent that we can, what you just said a few minutes ago, about, you know.
I said
let's-
it well, didn't I?
Yes, you did. Do you
Better-
remember what you
better
said?
than-
We're gonna ask to,
Clearly, the board would be getting together again, so this is not a,
Yeah.
you know, this is the only opportunity
Well, you'll
kind of
get-
thing.
right.
We do have to get to them to say, yes, we're interested, contingent upon financing.
Right.
Then when the financing package, whatever that determines to be, we will get together again.
as soon as possible, too. I
And,
mean,
and
not
so,
wait till-
you know, say that scenario, and we determine that we really can't get the type of finance we want, we're not gonna save the 45,000, like you said, it could be 30, you know, it could cost us 35 to borrow, to make 45, or save 45. Then will we have the option of rescinding then? or-
I would make that part of it.
Okay,
I mean, you know, they're not going to say, okay, let us know in a year.
yeah. No, I understand that. And that, if that's the case, I'm definitely, you know, I'm definitely in favor that we can have that option
Right,
of.
option, yeah.
Okay,
It's
so
not gonna save us money.
the motion is,
To go forward,
okay,
the-
contingent upon,
being able to get it
Financing.
financed,
Financing.
okay, knowing financing within the next 30 days, by the time we meet again.
our next meeting.
Right,
That
and
make-
that doesn't, and I'd like, and that it's gonna be a proven cost savings for us. I mean, once we determine, we do it, you know, say we do get the financing, and the financing determined based on the loan, we're not gonna save that much money.
Right.
You know, I wanna make sure we have that out option,
Yeah.
that's all I'm saying, in case we find, right now, we can't determine how much we're gonna save, right? We're ballparking, correct? Dave?
Ballpark, yeah, it's around 45,000,
Right.
could be a little bit more.
I mean, I hope it is that
So-
much, believe me, but, yeah, I'm,
So are we,
I agree.
we're comfortable with the motion? Ben made the motion, is there a second?
Karen
Karen,
seconded it.
second of the motion, further discussion?
I have further discussion, because I'm going to abstain if I don't get an answer on this. Now, I've checked with our engineers, if they can tell us whether PFCs are used in the manufacturing of these filters. Until I get that answer, I can't consciously say that we should buy these.
Okay, I asked that question today, and what I was told is that they are very confident that there is not anything like that, but does that mean
Okay,
that?
I didn't get a direct answer from the engineers, the
No,
only
but
reason
I
I'm saying,
did
so if they
today.
told you, then that's.
But, does that mean 2 weeks from now or next year, someone won't discover that, oh yeah, it was in there? I can't tell you that either. It's made, the filters are made of some crazy stuff, including horsehair. I don't know how or why. But anyway, a lot of different things like that. And I said, is there any reason to believe whatsoever that our current filters are affecting the PFOA at all? I said, no reason whatsoever.
Okay.
Now, does that mean again that, a study won't come out somewhere saying, no, I can't guarantee that.
Well, just on the financial basis, I think we need to buy them. Whether we buy these or we buy other ones for more money, they're gonna need to be purchased. So on the financial aspect of it, I'm willing to go with the motion.
Any further discussion? There being none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The
That
motion's
was a good
carried.
question. That was a good question. I would have never thought of that, so.
Okay.
That was really good.
Try to get through the rest of this as quickly as I can.
Motion.
Tax freeze, the tax freeze plan, we will be submitting that to the county by Friday at the latest. We will be participating in a county-wide plan. After the county receives it, hopefully over the next few weeks, we'll get some kind of an idea of what the percentage will be, not so much the percentage, what the average amount might be that an eligible homeowner could look forward to. Again, it's not thousands of dollars. It really is not. But, it's gonna be something for folks. So we'll be sending that out. Okay. At the last meeting, we did determine that we were gonna change the September meeting to a week later. I wanted to ask regarding the July meeting, if that was possible. I know, Bob, you had to check on a couple things, you weren't sure.
I'm not gonna be there, so. And neither will I.
So you won't be there for the 21st, you won't be there for the 21st, okay, all right. So that's that then. All right, I'll just leave that alone. Okay, new business. We will be doing some workplace violence training that's mandated by New York State under PESH. PESH is the state version of OSHA. Okay, all of those kinds of things. We'll be doing that over the summer as part of the agreement that we have with our labor relations attorneys. They will do that training for us at no additional cost. It comes out of that retainer. So we'll be doing that for new staff and as a refresher for all staff as well. Okay. Ken, you can help with this. At the last meeting, Danny and Ken, Danny both, I believe, talked about going forward to purchase an actuator. And this was something that the sewer department, wastewater plant put in their budget. This is one of those items that does not last forever. It wears out. We've replaced one already. The one we replaced was in the neighborhood of $19,000. This one is $21,500. It's in the budget. Again, Kenny and Danny did a great job putting that budget together, and we gave them the approval to move forward to order it, because again, this isn't something that's kept on the shelf. They have to make it, and it's about 6 months. And we wanted to get it made while the weather was, so they weren't putting it in 12 below zero weather. So we have a request here to make the actual purchase on this.
Motion?
Ben?
Second.
Second, Bob D. Further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, that's carried. Okay, that's to be paid out of that one. Okay. I'm gonna just skip one and jump down to a motion. We had a discussion previously regarding a request by the highway superintendent to buy back up to 10 vacation days. And that was based on the fact that he was not able to take that time due to work-related issues. We were down a staff. Everybody knows the reasons. I've spoken with everyone. We need to formalize that decision. So I would ask for a motion.
I'll make that motion.
Bobby?
Second.
Karen, second. Further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion is carried. As a result of that discussion that we had, and I don't know, Ben, I don't know if you've had a chance.
I just wanted to say that I have contacted some other villages around us for how they work their vacation time, how it's requested. I'm still waiting for information to come back. I'd like to be able to discuss that at the next board meeting once I have more information.
Okay.
But I would like to see us get into something of how they request days off so that, you know, everybody's aware of what's going on.
Okay.
So I
So you'll-
have put out the feelers. I have not gotten response back, but I just did it a few days ago, so I didn't
NICOM
expect
could be
everybody.
helpful.
I'll try that as well.
NICOM, yeah.
I didn't even think about it. I just got my latest magazine from the winter of 2015, so.
Okay, all right, moving forward here. We're not going forward with the candidate for the academy, so that's being taken off the agenda. Okay. Next is a motion to approve the prosecutor agreement for code enforcement matters. You will recall that, again, in this new budget that's coming up that the board approved, we included funding to hire a prosecutor who would then be able to step forward and represent the village in civil matters around building code issues. I have received a retainer, an outline of a retainer letter. Since it's been approved in the budget, we've approved the concept. I'm seeking your approval to sign off on the letter. What the letter states is they receive $165 an hour. Okay, so, and we put $7,500 in the budget. So this is not gonna buy a lot of hours, but what we hope will do, it will start to get the funds flowing.
Generate some revenue.
So it'll create some revenue, right. So again, I would like your permission to approve that or to sign off on that letter.
Motion?
Ben, second?
Second.
Nope, I think Karen got you, we'll go with Karen on the second. On that, further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion's carried. We have a resolution that's coming before the board, and this is coming from, what is this? Oh, this is the amendment I gotta sign, so we'll do that afterwards. Okay, B&L, that's the planning group that's working on our zoning update. And as I mentioned earlier when I talked about this, our zoning, we've taken all of the rules, regulations, and there were just tons of them. Tried to make sense out of them, pulled out the duplicates, all of that sort of thing. The next step, and we approved funding for that, as you'll recall, that came from our economic development funds. And in fact, we were able to get a grant for about, I think it was $9,500 towards that. So we got a third of that back. The original cost was $27,000, we got a grant for $9,000, and we're paying $18,000. We need to take the next steps, and the next steps, again, are to look at the grandfathering issues that we have with certain properties, and also to move forward on a master plan for our community. And the master plan is the outline of where the vision that we have for our community, and everything falls into that. And our planning board that's the direction that our planning board would receive, really. They would work under the guise of the master plan. Hudson River Greenway is again putting out, seeking applications for a grant to do this. B&L has volunteered to write a grant application at no cost to us at all. I thank them very much for this. There'd be no cost. They're gonna apply for the grant. I think we have an excellent opportunity of getting it, and that could certainly help fund the next step as we go forward with our zoning as well as our master plan. So we have a resolution. Ian, do you have that? Whereas the Village of Hoosick Falls is applying to the Hudson River Valley Greenway for a grant under the Greenway Communities Grant Program for a project entitled the Hoosick Falls Zoning Code Update Phase 2, Land Use Inventory and Analysis to be located in the village. Whereas the grant application requires the applicant municipality to obtain approval, endorsement of the governing body of the municipality in which the project will be located. Now therefore be it resolved that the governing board of the Village of Hoosick Falls hereby does approve and endorse the application for a grant under the Greenways Committee Grant Program for the project known as Hoosick Falls Zoning Court Update, and to be located within this community. By approving this resolution, we will be giving B&L the approval to go forward to apply for this grant, again, at no cost to the village. So with a resolution,
Motion.
We need a motion to go forward with that resolution, then there'll be a roll call.
Motion.
Bob, was it? Okay. Second?
Second?
Rick? Further discussion? All those in favor?
Yep.
Aye.
Bob,
Yes.
Karen.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes?
Yes.
Yes.
All right, thank you very much. We've already talked about the ban on open burning. The chief went over that in great detail. Again, we just need to emphasize that. Okay, we also received approval from EFC, who are the state folks that approved the major projects, and the lady from Snow Street. This potentially could come, Snow Street could come under that if we can put a package together. This is for our upcoming sewer work that we know needs to be done. And we received notification that we had been approved by New York State, EFC in particular, for up to $3.8 million in loans, interest-free. No interest on this. This would not occur for another year, but it's part of that whole process that we have gone through. We don't need a motion on this, do we? This is just I'm just letting everybody know that we have received that, okay? There'll be other steps that we'll need to take, and obviously we'll be getting involved in that. Okay, Wells Fargo property. The good news, by the way, is that our executive session is not necessary,
Oh, good.
so we can go on about Wells Fargo for an hour and a half. All right? And still be home by tomorrow. All right, the Wells Fargo property. Several months ago, I received an email from a company representing or working for or with Wells Fargo, the bank. And they had a property. And this property was not in the village at the time. But what they said was, hey, we've got a property that we've foreclosed on. Would the village be interested in taking over this property, and we're gonna give you a $20,000 donation? Well, the property was not within the village, okay? But I did a little checking on, just how legitimate is this? Because I hadn't heard about it before. Recently, within the last 2 weeks, well, maybe a little bit more than that, about 3 or 4 weeks ago, I got another contact email from the same person at Wells Fargo saying that there's a property in the village at 62 Mechanic Street. We've foreclosed on it. Would the village be interested in taking it over? And we'll give you $20,000. We will donate $20,000 to the village. I asked our building inspector at the time to take a look at it, give me an idea of just, what was involved. Did that, came back with, you could do anything from knock it down to maybe really try and rehab it. But to knock it down will cost more than $20,000. And it was closer to the $30,000 range to do that. I got back to Wells Fargo and I said to them, what the hey? We'd be interested, but it's gonna cost us $35,000 to knock it down. Oh, well, let us check on that. Well, about a week later, I got a response from them saying, we'd give you a donation for $35,000 if you wanted to take over the building.
So we'd have the building and
$35,000. So what I then did was I asked the village attorney would you please talk to these people because, is this for real? And your response was?
My response was to have an interesting conversation with the folks at the particular section of Wells Fargo. I was talking to somebody in Iowa. But this is part of their community development program. And of course, my concern from the village's point of view is that anytime you have any kind of closing, even if somebody's giving you something, there are costs. There's costs involved. Everything from title searches to recording fees, all kinds of things. Now, she said, well, we can take care of that. And I said, well, that's wonderful, but I asked for a copy of whatever kind of donation contract that they would use. I got it 20 minutes later. And quite frankly, it includes them buying basically everything that we're gonna need to close this, which is not bad, right down to the title insurance. Because obviously, if the bank has clean title, this would be an attractive opportunity, I think, for the village. If they don't have clean title, then obviously we can't buy it. But I'm a great believer in title insurance, I have been for my entire career, and this will be included as part of what they would do for us. And they'll put it in writing, otherwise I would not recommend that you accept this. But the contract looks pretty good. It looks like they mean what they say and they say what they mean. So as an option, this is an option for you folks to consider. I think legally and also financially, we can set this up so that the village benefits rather than has to pay any money on it. So
Now, in fact, if we were to go forward on this, the village would purchase the property for $1?
basically, it's a donation, but yes.
Okay, so we would have to do that.
Right.
They would cover all of the closing costs from what they're saying.
Correct.
Plus make a donation of $35,000
Correct.
to the village.
And you would get clear insurable title.
Okay.
Which by the way, is very important in any of these foreclosures, because throughout the foreclosure process, there are of course pitfalls where things may or may not have been done correctly by the bank or even by the courts. So, you know, the free legal advice tonight is never buy a foreclosed property unless you have title insurance. And if we can get that on here, why, you know, something for you to consider anyway.
Okay. So worst case scenario, we do this, we determine that it's just another abandoned vacant building. We tear it down for the cost. We then have the property appraised.
Correct.
The property that's been demolished and
Parcel.
taken
Right.
away, all of that cleaned up, and then turn around and that could be sold. Correct?
That's correct. The thing is that there is precedent for this in the village. Way back in 79 or 80, I can't remember exactly which, when Doherty's Hotel burned for the first time. And very sadly, we had lost a life. But the village decided at the time to stabilize the building and got the owners, and did negotiations. We got the building into the village's name because of its location in particular. They wanted to be certain of what happened on that spot. So as a result of that, we wound up owning the building. Then we went through a very extensive process, I'm sure, Ann, you'll remember, where people came to the board over like a 6-month period and made a presentation to the board and also to the community about what they were going to do with the building. And then the village board decided who they were going to go with and sold the property for the appraised value. Now, the reason that we have to have an appraisal, and it's got to be a thorough one, we can't just get some real estate broker to go check that out, is that under Article 3 of the state constitution, you cannot give anything away that belongs to a village, and you cannot sell anything or lease it for that which is less than the fair market value. So that's why you would have to get an appraisal, and that's what you'd have to get. Whatever it is, that's what you'd have to get for it.
So in that scenario, so you knock the building down, just going
Yeah.
along those lines, we level it, seed it, whatever, so it's a vacant lot, then we say it's worth $10,000. We can't sell it for less than 10, you're saying, it'd have to be whatever, that's fair market.
Yep.
So what if we never sell it? We just eat the property, and we just have to maintain it, whatever,
Yeah,
just
I
mow
mean,
it, whatever, yeah.
Think it's off the.
It's off the rolls.
It's off the rolls
And that's what
anyway,
I meant.
nothing's happening,
Right, what do, I mean, nobody's paying the taxes now.
and
Right.
it's just another ugly, dilapidated building. Now, again, you don't necessarily have to knock it down. It may be worthwhile to use some of that 35,000 to spiff it up, so that it may be attractive to someone else who would be looking at it. Now, you know, should the village get into the real estate business? I don't think so, but I think we need to look at different things when they come by. And again, even if this is just knocking this down,
Is it worth saving?
Well, that's
I
what
don't
we gotta
know,
determine.
we wanna have somebody to look at it.
Mark?
I believe it could be saved.
Is part of the foundation fall down?
Part of the foundation is caving in, yes.
There's a mold issue, I think, too, isn't
Huge mold issue.
Probably because of the foundation.
How big is the lot?
It's a double lot.
I don't know.
It's a big lot.
Yeah.
Very big.
Big lot.
Which one is it?
It's above your store.
Oh, Ray's, or Leo's?
Raise.
It's been empty for a while, but there was some work done on that house. Couldn't have been too long ago.
Yeah.
The roof isn't too bad, but the foundation definitely needs some work. Where it's caving in, it just happens to be caving in against one of the electrical panels that's in the basement. So it's actually pushing the panel. I don't know if it's done any damage yet to the electrical. I don't think that it had. The mold issue I keep hearing about, I didn't notice anything, but I wasn't looking for mold. It was musty, but a lot of those older houses, when you go into them that haven't been lived in, can be musty.
You can see it from the outside on the windows, on the inside.
That's
But
what I'm asking.
You know, there's different types of mold, you know, so just because somebody says mold, it's, you know, doesn't necessarily mean it's the worst kind of mold. I can't.
There's like long, I was in there, there's long like stalagmites of mold hanging from the cellar that was, not that long ago.
But if you knock it down, then you don't have that issue, because you clean everything out and start again, right?
Now, if we ask Wells Fargo to tear it down and just give us the property? I mean, do we wanna get
I
into
think-
raising the thing too, or do we just say, you know, instead of giving us 35, you know, get one of your guys to do it for whatever you can do it for, and then we'll take the property after?
You know, possible, but I think they're gonna walk away like all the other banks do. I just think that's what's gonna happen.
It'll give somebody a job.
Yeah, what do you think about the estimate for demolition?
What we talked about.
Oh, yeah, I mean, the fire department option.
Very close.
30,000?
Mayor, can I ask
How much you
Mark
gonna
a
cost to tear
question?
it down? How much you gonna cost to tear it down? Somewhere in that area.
Yeah, we're told around 30,000. John, you had a question?
Yeah, do you know where the oil tank was for that particular, building? Was it in the basement? You remember?
I don't think there was an old furnace, but the house had electric heat, and I don't remember seeing an oil tank, but that doesn't mean it wasn't there.
Okay.
I could go back in looking at it.
Just curious, I'm always looking for underground oil tanks.
I mean, that's certainly something we could take a look at.
It's a major hassle, you have DEC involved and the whole nine yards. I just wanna know if you ultimately decide to go with this, if I should make that part of our contract negotiations.
Sure.
That's why I'm asking the question.
Sure.
That's something I could check.
And, you know, the remediation basically is they go in, they pull the tank out, that's not that expensive. But then, once you've got the tank pulled out, you have to assure yourselves that there is no contamination. If there is contamination, then basically you get a whole new yard, you know, you just have to, all this stuff, and it's done by the right people. I just wanna be sure.
I do know that with municipal owned property, we become eligible for funding through the brownfields, through DEC,
And many other types of grants,
so.
once it's owned by the municipality.
Again, any decision that's made tonight doesn't mean that we purchase it tomorrow. John's raised a number of things that we wanna look at. I think, though, if we look at this from a multi-pronged approach, we've just approved hiring a prosecutor to go after people, property owners who are not taking care of their property. We've got a full-time building inspector working on these kinds of issues. We're working hand in hand with the police department. We have an option here that's been offered to us, initially at $20,000. I should have said 100,000. Next time I will. I learned. I learned the lesson.
Shame on you.
You know? I thought I was doing pretty good, but I probably could have gone higher. But the point is, you know, I think this also gives a message to the community, and even if it's only one out of 30 or 40, it's a start. And I got an idea, we know that Wells Fargo owns more property in this community.
I will say, Wells Fargo is the company that I talked to on the property that Man mentioned earlier.
Right next door to me.
So Wells Fargo may be really trying to do something good here.
I think they are.
Mark, how close is it to other structures from the property that it's on right now?
It's not, Ben.
Yeah,
Ben, it's
yeah.
next door to my mother's house.
Okay, is that something that the fire department could use as and burn it down?
No.
No.
I'm saying that, no.
It's not that far.
No.
Could
Not
your
if I'm
mother
sitting
go
here.
shopping that
Not if I'm
day?
sitting here,
Now
no.
all of a sudden, that's not a good idea.
It's not an option. No, you actually you have an apartment structure right now, an apartment house right
Well,
next door.
that's why I'm asking,
Yeah.
because it's.
Yeah, right to the right, not my mother's, but next door.
Did you have a
Try to get it
question?
done for free.
Any asbestos in that building?
That's a requirement now that you have to have it looked at. If there is asbestos, there isn't a lot. There isn't a lot of it, but it is a requirement now for any demolition that
Go to
a
your
survey
cost.
has to be done and a survey report issued to the municipality.
We don't know what it's gonna cost. We know what the assessment will cost.
Well, I did get an
Roughly.
estimate on the, on that survey, and it sounds like everything's gonna be included in this, and the estimate that I got, like.
About $2,500.
$2,500.
So if we could include that as well.
Yep.
Sure.
So that's the latest deal. Is there a motion?
Motion?
Ben, for?
I don't know, whatever you say. To,
This way as opposed to this
Well,
one?
listen, I got the dollar to buy the property. so-
All right.
That we,
Move forward on
that we
negotiations
go,
with both partners.
right, and
Yeah.
pursuant to all of the things being taken care of in the contract that they're gonna show to us.
Mhm.
Yes, it
Yep.
would be contingent, it's contingent upon the successful negotiations
Yeah.
with Wells Fargo.
Yeah, and all that other
Contract of
Yep.
excellence.
gobbledygook that he
Stuff
just
that
said.
he said,
That's
yeah.
right, the stuff he said.
All right. Ben,
Motion
is
from
there a
Ben.
second?
Second.
Karen, thank you.
As long as we don't.
Further
put it down,
discussion?
Bobby will vote for it.
Further discussion? All those in favor? Opposed?
I'm going to abstain.
Okay, for the record,
My
Bob
mother's
has
property.
Right.
abstained. Any
No,
other
seriously,
abstentions?
Yeah, that
No,
makes
I
sense.
just-
No, okay.
That's it, man.
Yeah.
He did?
He did. You, no?
No, I didn't.
No, okay.
That's next year's fine.
All right, so
That makes sense.
so the motion is carried. Thank you. All right, we just went through the agenda, folks. I haven't even looked at the clock.
I'll tell you what time it is, Mayor.
There is no executive session.
9:36.
Is there a motion to adjourn?
Motion?
Second?
Bob?
Aye.
All right, all those in favor? Any opposed?